worst. There are many pitiful people in this world, and you can't help them all. Just remember one thing. What is it, sister? Tang Lu-jin asked humbly. Help those who can benefit you, ignore those who can't. Tang Nian didn't think this was being mercenary, whether to help others depended on one's conscience. She wasn't a saint and didn't need to save everyone. Taking care of herself was enough. Tang Lu-jin nodded, firmly remembering her sister's words. Help those who can benefit you, ignore those who can't. Her sister's advice was truly golden. Zhang Yumei was not as good as her in studies, came from a worse background, and couldn't help her in life. She had been foolish to help such an ungrateful person. Tang Lu-jin felt ashamed, her face turning red. She wanted to write her sister's golden rules in a notebook and take it out to review often, keeping them in mind. Just remember them well. I'm leaving now. Tang Nian patted her sister's shoulder and prepared to leave. Sister, is that snake yours? Tang Lu-jin asked curiously. The little snake seemed to listen to her sister. I caught it on the way. Tang Nian denied it and walked away quickly. She needed to return to Tang village. She hadn't seen the old lady for several days and missed her a bit. At that moment, the old lady was also talking about Tang Nian, not out of longing but because there had been a lot of gossip in the village lately. Rumors from neighboring villages said that Tang Nian got the job at Hongxing factory because of an improper relationship with a factory director. Otherwise, how could a young person earn such a high salary? And how could she borrow money from the factory to start a sock factory? Gossip travels fast. Within a day, it was all over the place. Not only in Tang village, but also in nearby villages. The rumors spread from one person to another, becoming more exaggerated. Some even claimed that Tang Nian went to the city every day to flirt with men. People often saw her with different men, and their relationships seemed quite ambiguous. Many believed she was indeed flirting, and the gossip was so convincing that a lot of people bought into it. After all, it was true that Tang Nian used her money to start a sock factory, and she really did earn 98 yuan. It was also true that she frequently went to the city. How could a 17-year-old girl from the countryside have such abilities? They thought it was all due to her looks and body. Most people believed she had no real skills and must have relied on men to get ahead. The gossip in Tang village was somewhat mild. Most people appreciated Tang Nian for starting the factory and didn't spread rumors. However, every village has its troublemakers. Some people privately discussed her, and their words reached the ears of the Tang family. Tang old lady was furious and wished she could silence those gossipers. But she knew that if she confronted them, it would make her seem guilty. Still, the gossip was too damaging. She worried it would affect her granddaughter's future and feared that Xin Xiao, who was in the army, would look down on her. Those shameless people. If I catch them, I swear I'll shut their mouths. Tang old lady was so angry that she had blisters in her mouth and lost her appetite. The gossip wasn't said in front of her, and if she confronted them, they could just deny it. She angrily bit into her meat, feeling infuriated. She had been respected in the village for decades and had never faced such humiliation. Big brother, call Man Yin and tell him to keep Nian in the city for a few more days. Tang old lady was worried that her granddaughter would get upset hearing the gossip. She needed to find a way to stop it before bringing her back.
Oh, Tang Manjin nodded.
He was also upset but couldn't think of a good solution, so he just sulked. Mom, we shouldn't hide this from Nian. She's smarter than us, and will definitely find a way. Xian Zhenju thought they should let Tang Nian come back. If they couldn't solve the problem, she surely could. Let her come back and get angry? Stop talking. I need to think. Tang old lady rolled her eyes and knocked her head, trying to think through her frustration. She used to leave the thinking to her husband, but now that he was gone, her mind wasn't as sharp. Xian Zhenju sighed, feeling no appetite. The gossip was too cruel. How could they say such things about Nian? Those people had no conscience. She wanted to confront them, but since they hadn't said it in front of her, she couldn't defend Nian. It was infuriating. The atmosphere in the village chief's house was also heavy. Tang Jianshu had resigned and returned home. Now, he was managing the sock factory with the village chief, and they had heard the gossip too. I wonder who spreads such heartless rumors. It's terrible. Man Shan. Think of a way. Nian Nian is innocent and shouldn't be treated this way. Aunt San said angrily. Don't rush me. I'm thinking. The village chief's head was also aching. He had been thinking about it for a day and night. He wanted to expel those gossipers from Tang Village, but he knew he couldn't do that. He was just a small village chief, and didn't have that power. I have an idea. You all don't need to worry. Tang Jianshu, who was 20, looked somewhat like Tang Mantong, both being strong and handsome young men. He had a good relationship with Tang Mantong. They had played together since childhood. What's your idea? The village chief and his wife asked in unison. If I tell you, it won't work. Let's eat. Tang Jianshu refused to share his plan, which wasn't exactly above board. He learned it from his uncle Tang Mantong. But as long as it worked, it was a good plan. The village chief and his wife didn't press further. Their younger son had always been clever and a bit mischievous. He might really have a solution. Tang Hongxing sat quietly, eating, seemingly indifferent to everything around her. Aunt Sen glanced at her and felt even more disappointed. Nian Nian had saved Hongxing's life, yet now that Nian Nian was in trouble, Hongxing didn't even say a word of concern. It felt like she was a heartless wolf. Aunt San took the stir-fried eggs with chives from in front of her daughter, served half to her younger son, and kindly said, Eat more. She had given up on her daughter. Her son was better. Tang Hongxing remained indifferent. She had intended to pick up an egg with her chopsticks, but instead moved them to the vegetable dish. She felt like a walking corpse. Nothing mattered to her anymore. Aunt San felt frustrated and gave the remaining eggs entirely to the village chief, leaving none for her daughter. Such a heartless child didn't deserve to eat eggs. The village chief was a bit taken aback. Usually, the good food was reserved for the children. Today, he unexpectedly received half, making him feel uneasy. Meanwhile, everyone was concerned about Tang Nian Nian, who had already reached Luo Xia village, the same village where Tang Old Lady had a confrontation. At the intersection, there was a bamboo grove, and several women were picking bamboo shoots. It was May, the peak season for tiger bamboo shoots, and after a rain, they had all popped up. The village women would go up the mountain to gather shoots, both fresh and dried, which would be collected by a station for work points. Have you heard about that Tang Nian Nian from Tang Village? Oh my, she's young but quite capable, has had several lovers, and they spend money generously. Tang Nian Nian spends like water, wearing new clothes every day, and even buying a new car. Her family eats meat daily, living better than the former landlord Xian. A woman's loud voice came from the bamboo grove, making it hard for Tang Nian Nian not to hear. There was only one Tang Nian Nian in Tang Village, and these gossipers were definitely talking about her. Tang Nian Nian wasn't angry. She stopped by the roadside to listen to these women continue their gossip. I've heard that Tang Nian Nian is really beautiful, like a fox. The guy she was engaged to before ended up with his family destroyed, all dead. How did he die? Was it Tang Nian Nian who did it? It seems to be related to her. That guy was about to get promoted in the army, but Tang Nian Nian set a snake on him, and he got bitten badly. He couldn't stay in the army anymore. His family was from outside the village, but Tang Nian Nian's family had power in the village, and everyone bullied that guy's family until they had no way to live. Eventually, they all died. That's too cruel. How could such a young girl be so wicked? If she can have so many lovers, how good can her heart be? No matter the time, bad women are the ones who have money to spend. How many good women live well? That's true. The women's voices grew louder, completely disregarding their surroundings. They couldn't imagine that the real Tang Nian Nian was right by the roadside. Tang Nian Nian heard everything clearly and smirked. Most of the gossip likely came from Qi Guoxiu. With all the Qi family gone, only Qi Guoxiu remained, and she was the only one left to speak for the Qi family and smear her name. Initially, Tang Nian Nian planned to let Qi Guoxiu off, but since that woman was being dishonest, she shouldn't blame her for being ruthless. As for those gossiping women, they could escape the death penalty, but they would face severe consequences. Tang Nian Nian quickly thought of a way to prank these women. Since they claimed to have multiple lovers, she would make their words come true. With a few quick steps, she slipped into the bamboo forest. Before the women could react, she knocked them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going up the mountain to catch a tiger, but the tiger isn't home, just her. Tang Nian poked at the 5 women, finally landing on one who was chubby and clearly a gossip. It's you. Fate can't be defied. With a cold laugh, she grabbed the chubby woman and quickly stripped her down to just a tank top and shorts, doing the same to the others. The 5 women lay unconscious on the ground like fish. Tang Nian tossed their clothes aside and collected the bamboo shoots they had picked, filling several baskets. Why not take them? Then she rode her bike to Luoxia village, where about a dozen people were working in the fields. From a distance, she shouted, "There are people in the bamboo forest having affairs." Upon hearing affairs, the workers' eyes lit up. They dropped their tools and ran towards the road, not caring who was calling. Tang Nian smiled and rode away, hiding in the bamboo forest to watch the excitement. A crowd rushed in, straight into the bamboo forest, and when they saw the 5 women on the ground, the men's eyes widened, unable to look away. "What are you staring at? Turn around." One man was the husband of one of the women on the ground, feeling a wave of green on his head from all the hats he had worn. The 5 women quickly woke up in front of everyone, realizing their situation. They screamed in fear, then cried, each looking for their husbands to complain and insist they were innocent. Their husbands' faces turned pale, their expressions frightening, clearly indicating that things would not be peaceful from now on. Having watched enough, Tang Nian pulled a chewed-up piece of grass from her mouth, clapped her hands, and happily rode her bike back to Tang village. That was just her nature. She believed in immediate revenge, not waiting 10 years like a gentleman. Even 10 days was too long for her to endure, let alone 10 years. As long as the timing and strength allowed, she wouldn't wait overnight. She would take action right away. To put it simply, if she took a step back, it could lead to health issues. If she endured, it could lead to worse problems. Not backing down, enduring, or giving in was her principle. As for those 5 women, whether they would suffer later was none of her concern. They had brought this upon themselves. About 10 minutes later, Tang Nian arrived at the entrance of Tang village. It was close to lunchtime, and many homes had smoke rising from their kitchens. On the village path, there were few adults around, just children playing. "Second sister, someone is talking bad about you." A little boy, sniffling, ran over with a mysterious report. A few other kids joined in, excitedly sharing similar gossip, naming names of those who were talking bad, all of whom were from families that had wronged the Tang family in the past.
Good job. Here.
Tang Nian expressionlessly pulled out some milk candies and handed them to the kids. She would take revenge tonight. These 13 people had been living too comfortably. They wouldn't have peace from now on. "Second sister, I threw stones at third aunt when she was in the bathroom, and it splattered her with a lot of mess," one child said quietly, eager for praise. Third aunt was one of the 13.
Good boy.
Tang Nian gave him a piece of cake. "Second sister, I threw mud at fourth aunt's house. A lot of it." "Second sister, I beat up fifth aunt's granddaughter." The kids excitedly shared their achievements, all targeting those 13 people. "Keep it up, here's another reward." Tang Nian gave each child a piece of cake, their eyes sparkling with joy, and they secretly vowed to be even bolder next time. Those people had bullied their second sister. They deserved to be pranked. And they could get cake and candies in return. How great. After rewarding the kids, Tang Nian rode home, running into Tang Manjin, who was about to make a phone call. "Nian girl, you're back?" Tang Manjin was worried. He feared Tang Nian would hear the gossip and get upset. "Yeah, I finished the business in the city." Tang Nian smiled, ignoring the concern on Tang Manjin's face. Such small matters couldn't hurt her. She would resolve them quickly. During lunch, Tang old lady hesitated before saying, "You've worked hard. Just rest at home and don't go out."
Okay.
Tang Nian obediently agreed, easing Tang old lady's worries. As long as she stayed indoors, she wouldn't hear any gossip. Halfway through the meal, Tang Man Tong returned, looking a bit pale. He had just spoken to Tang Jianshu and learned about the gossip. However, he quickly masked his emotions and behaved normally at home. The family had an unusually quiet lunch. Usually the most talkative, Tang Man Tong was silent today. The only sounds were the clinking of utensils and Tang Jiojin eating heartily, secretly planning to lead a few friends to take revenge for his second sister in the afternoon. After lunch, Tang Nian Nian went to her room for a nap, and so did Tang Man Tong. The two were particularly quiet, which relieved Tang Old Lady, who worried about them causing trouble. It seemed the younger son and Nian girl still didn't know about the gossip. Tang Old Lady, Xian Jinju, and Su Jinfeng all went to work, while Tang Manjin went to earn work points in the fields. Jiu Jin went out to play, and Tang Nian Nian and Tang Man Tong were indeed sleeping. The afternoon in Tang Village was not peaceful, as 13 households were in turmoil. Cursed troublemakers, you've lost your ancestors' virtue. Don't let me catch you, or I'll beat you up. Such curses echoed throughout the village, as someone had used a slingshot to shoot at their chickens and ducks, causing chaos and breaking a few freshly laid eggs. Jiu Jin led his friends back to the mountains quickly, dividing the cookies he had brought. Everyone got a piece and was very happy. Let's do it again tomorrow. Yeah. The kids eagerly anticipated the next day. As night fell, the last light in Tang Village went out. A shadow emerged from the Tang house, followed by another a few minutes later, and then the captain's family also came out. The three figures headed towards the home where the most gossip had spread, meeting at the wall's edge. Uncle? Nian girl? Jianshu? In the dark of night, three figures appeared, Tang Nian Nian, Tang Man Tong, and Tang Jianshu from the captain's family. Why are you out so late, young lady? Go back to sleep. Tang Man Tong frowned, not wanting his niece to get involved in such matters. Women face harsher judgment than men. Even a small mistake can lead to harsh criticism. Nian Nian, a beautiful girl, must not be tainted by such things. Tang Jianshu also advised Nian Nian, listen to your uncle and stay out of this. With him and his uncle around, those 13 families would surely have no peaceful days ahead. After all, he had lived with his great-uncle as a child and had often gone on adventures with his uncle, making mischief easily. What are you planning to do? Tang Nian Nian asked quietly. She didn't want to go back. She wanted to take revenge herself. Tang Man Tong and his uncle exchanged awkward glances and stammered. Why are you asking so many questions? We just won't let them have it easy. They couldn't tell her about their dirty tricks, fearing it would corrupt her innocence. I'm not going back. You do your thing, and I'll do mine. As soon as Nian Nian finished speaking, she climbed over the courtyard wall. Tang Man Tong and his uncle were still processing what had happened when she disappeared. That girl has some nerve. Tang Man Tong gritted his teeth and jumped over the wall, followed closely by Tang Jianshu. The three gathered in the yard, and the chickens and ducks in the coop sensed danger, becoming restless. Nian Nian sneaked to the backyard. While her uncle and the others were not looking, she released Bai Sui and Fu Bao. Fu Bao had been in her space for a while, nourished by the spirit spring, and its white fur was smooth and shiny. Tang Man Tong and his uncle approached, their eyes widening at the sight of the beautiful big, white dog. Nian Nian, when did you get another white dog? Tang Man Tong chuckled softly and reached out to pet Fu Bao, enjoying its soft fur like a high-quality wool blanket. Woof. Get your dirty paws off. Bai Sui bared its teeth, warning all male animals to stay away from its partner. Uncle, keep your hands off. Don't bother my Fu Bao. Nian Nian was annoyed. Fu Bao was like her daughter, and she wouldn't let anyone take advantage of her, even if it was her uncle. Tang Man Tong laughed and petted Fu Bao a few more times, but noticing the fierce looks from Bai Sui and his niece, he finally withdrew his hand. This white dog is really beautiful. What breed is it? Tang Man Tong tried to change the subject, but no one responded. Tang Jianshu was fixated on Fu Bao's tail, beads of cold sweat forming on his forehead and back, his legs starting to tremble. That tail was straight down. It looked just like a wolf. Nian Nian had actually raised a wolf, and his uncle was petting its head without fear. Oh no! Tang Jianshu stepped back, positioning himself behind Tang Mantong, just in case the white wolf got aggressive. Tang Mantong didn't think much of it and pushed his nephew away, annoyed by how close he was sticking to him. Nian Nian, wait outside. Jianshu and I will be right out. Tang Mantong's plan was to sneak into a couple's bedroom, place a dead mouse on their chest, and then urinate in their water tank. He had done such things many times as a child. He had gone to confront those who spoke ill of his parents and bullied his niece in the middle of the night. Sometimes, when couples were busy at night, he would sneak under their window, hooting like an owl, or throw a harmless snake onto their bed, nearly scaring the man to death. Tang Jianshu had done his share too, but he always followed Tang Mantong, and the villagers only blamed Tang Mantong, not him. Okay. Nian Nian obediently agreed. Once Tang Mantong and Tang Jianshu entered the house, she climbed in through another window. Tang Mantong brought a basket filled with dead mice he had caught that afternoon, 2 for each house, just enough. He and Tang Jianshu split the tasks. He would place the dead mice in the bedroom, while Tang Jianshu would urinate in the kitchen water tank. Nian Nian hid in a corner, waiting for them to finish before revealing herself. Let's go. Tang Mantong signaled quietly, ready to move on to the next house.
Wait.
Nian Nian wasn't going to let this go easily. In her past life, these people had driven Tang Lujin to his death with their gossip. Just placing a dead mouse wouldn't be enough. She pushed open the bedroom door and walked in, with Tang Mantong and his uncle following anxiously. The couple lay sleeping in bed, and Tang Mantong carefully placed the dead mouse on their chests, moving with their breathing. Nian Nian grabbed the mouse's tail and stuffed it into their mouths. Tang Mantong and Tang Jianshu widened their eyes in surprise, secretly admiring her ruthlessness. They needed to learn from her. Nian Nian now held a ghost mask, with a long tongue sticking out and blood at the corners of its eyes and mouth. It was a prop used to scare people. Seeing it at night would surely frighten anyone. She positioned Bai Sui and Fu Bao at either side of the bed, watching the couple closely. Then she pinched the couple's noses. 1, 2, 3, 6. Just as she counted to 6, the man woke up, instinctively opening his mouth to breathe. He felt something soft and furry in his mouth and opened his eyes. What he saw was a ghost standing in the moonlight, dressed in a bright red robe, bleeding from its 7 orifices, with a long tongue and blood dripping from its red claws. The ghost grinned and reached out with its bloody claws, fresh blood trickling from its mouth, and he could even see chunks of flesh. This ghost had definitely just eaten someone and hadn't digested it yet. The man screamed in terror, wanting to faint, but his mind was clearer than ever. He stared at the ghost's face, unable to move as if paralyzed. The woman beside him also woke up, screamed, and rolled her eyes, about to faint. Nian Nian tightened her grip on her neck, her cold hand moving across her throat. The man was terrified, his teeth chattering. He now questioned 2 things. What was the ghost chewing on? At first, he thought it was his wife, but it wasn't. Could it be his son? The great love of a father gave him courage, and he could move again. He opened his mouth and screamed like a groundhog, aw. However, he couldn't scream for long because the dead mouse was still in his mouth, and he bit into its fur.
Ugh.
In the moonlight, the man saw a long, thin tail sticking out of his wife's mouth and recognized what it was. He reached into his mouth and pulled out the disgusting dead mouse, immediately gagging. The female host was also awakened by Tang Nian Nian's pinch. She opened her eyes and saw the evil spirit again, rolling her eyes before almost fainting again. Tang Nian Nian slapped her face hard, then grabbed her chin and turned her towards the bed, locking eyes with Bai Sui in a close, intense gaze. The male host was also turned around by Tang Nian Nian, nearly kissing Fu Bao. Tang Nian Nian gestured to her neck, and Bai Sui and Fu Bao understood, extending their claws and pressing them against the couple's necks. Their sharp claws were sharper than knives. With just a little pressure, they could slice through their carotid arteries, and blood would spray out like a fountain.
Ghost.
Lord Ghost, we will go to the mountain tomorrow to burn money and incense for you. Can you please go visit someone else? The male host gathered his courage and trembled as he begged for mercy. This tongue loves to talk so much. Pull it out and feed it to the dogs. Tang Nian Nian pressed down hard on the female host's chin, and her tongue stuck out. The female host was filled with fear, and a smell of urine filled the air. She was so scared that she lost control. Tang Man Tong and Tang Jianshu watched quietly from the corner, deeply impressed by their niece's, cousin's skills. Her methods of scaring people were far more advanced than theirs. Tang Nian Nian toyed with the couple for about 7 or 8 minutes, scaring them until they fainted, woke up, fainted again, and woke up again. Both the male and female hosts had wet themselves 3 times before she finally stopped. Next time you talk back, you'll take a trip to Tongue Hell. Tang Nian Nian bent down and suddenly got close to the female host's face, her terrifying ghost face magnified in front of her. The female host's already frayed nerves snapped, and she fainted again. Using the same method, she scared the male host unconscious as well. Useless. Tang Nian Nian wrinkled her nose in disgust. The room smelled of urine. It was awful. She took off her red robe, put it in her bag, and turned to leave. Tang Man Tong and Tang Jianshu exchanged glances and silently followed her. There was a house with the lights on and voices coming from it. Is the boss calling? What happened? Let's go check. It seemed the elderly in the house had been awakened, and footsteps could be heard. Tang Nian Nian quickly walked to the backyard and easily climbed over the wall. Tang Man Tong, his nephew, and Bai Sui and Fu Bao followed. Boss's wife. What happened to you? An old man's startled voice came from the house, followed by chaos. The neighbors were also awakened, and some came over to see what was going on. Tang Nian Nian and the others had already left, stopping to catch their breath under the back wall of the Tang family, all silent. Time to sleep. Tang Nian Nian yawned. She was exhausted in the middle of the night. The remaining 12 households would be dealt with tomorrow night. She needed to learn her lesson. First, silence them, then scare them to death. Nian Nian, where did you learn this? Tang Man Tong's expression was hard to describe. He didn't remember teaching his niece these tricks. Good talent, self-taught. Tang Nian Nian boasted, but she still had her big moves left to use. Don't worry about this. I know what I'm doing. Tang Nian Nian rolled her eyes at the two and yawned again. Nian girl, just don't kill anyone. Tang Man Tong had to remind her. He wasn't concerned about feelings but was afraid his niece would get into trouble. Scaring someone half to death was fine, but if someone died, it would have to be reported. I know.
Tang Nian Nian ziplit impatinti.
If she weren't worried about causing a death, would she go to such lengths? She yawned again and climbed back over the wall to return to her room to sleep. Tang Man Tong smiled and reached out to pet Fu Bao. He liked this white dog more and more. It was much prettier than Western dogs. Nian Nian, where did you get this white dog? Do you have more? I want one too. Tang Man Tong, like a dirty old man, kept petting Fu Bao's head. Bai Sui's eyes were blazing with anger. If it weren't for the fact that this was his master's uncle, he would have bitten this scoundrel's neck off long ago. Fu Bao enjoyed being petted, closing his eyes in comfort. Tang Nian Nian had already gone inside. Tang Jianshu gently tugged at his uncle's sleeve, but Tang Man Tong ignored him, glaring impatiently, not wanting to be disturbed while petting the pretty white dog. Uncle, look at its tail. Tang Jianshu pointed at Fu Bao's tail. What's so special about a tail?
Wait.
Tang Man Tong glanced at Fu Bao's tail impatiently, turned his head, and continued petting. Then, as if he remembered something, he turned back and stared at Bai Sui's tail, his face turning pale, and his legs trembling uncontrollably. Tang Jianshu was satisfied. He couldn't be the only one scared. That girl, I'll teach her a lesson. Tang Man Tong's hand awkwardly froze on Fu Bao's head, unable to move or pull back. Fu Bao was unhappy, glancing at him as if to say to hurry up and pet him. But Tang Man Tong thought the white wolf was angry, and he broke out in a cold sweat. Tang Jianshu, that black-hearted one, had run off, leaving him alone with the white wolf. Tang Man Tong and Fu Bao stood face to face, the air seeming to freeze, neither moving. In reality, only a few minutes had passed, but Tang Man Tong felt like it was a long century. Just as he was about to break down, a voice from the house called out, "Time to sleep." Bai Sui and Fu Bao jumped over the wall and disappeared. Tang Man Tong let out a long sigh of relief, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and gritted his teeth, cursing, "That girl has some nerve. Tomorrow, I'll teach her a lesson." Before dawn, Tang Village was bustling with activity. Old Lady Tang, Su Jinfeng, and Xian Jinzhu all went to see the commotion, returning half an hour later in high spirits. "Heaven is watching, humph. Anyone who speaks ill of my Nian girl will definitely face bad consequences." Old Lady Tang stood at the gate, her voice loud enough to be heard 2 miles away. "That's right. Our Nian girl is upright and has never done anything wrong, so she has nothing to fear from gossip. Heaven couldn't stand it anymore, and look, it's come to pass." Su Jinfeng's voice was even louder, carrying 3 miles. Nian girl put in the money and effort to start a sock factory, and now look at the mess. Her heart must be broken, but finally, heaven has opened its eyes. Xian Zhenju shouted, hands on her hips, from the house where the incident occurred. Her voice could be heard at least 5 miles away. They all knew who had been gossiping behind their backs. They had just seen the most talkative family in a state of panic, half their lives scared out of them. The 3 women felt relieved. All the pent-up frustration from these days was finally released. This incident quickly spread throughout Tang Village and rapidly reached other villages. The story of the 5 gossiping women from Luoxia Village being possessed by ghosts in the bamboo forest, stripping naked in broad daylight to meet their lovers, also made its way to Tang Village. Absolutely. In broad daylight, stripping down in the bamboo forest must mean she's having an affair with a male ghost. TSK, that green hat is ominous. We can't even find the person to settle the score. Even in daylight, ghosts can press you down. It's really scary. That bamboo forest is eerie, right next to the graveyard. There are plenty of such things around. Sure, keep it down, or people will say we're promoting superstitions. Did you know? Those 5 women also gossiped about Nian Nian. I heard them myself. They were talking bad about her in the bamboo forest yesterday. Do you think the heavens heard them? Is Nian Nian really the heavens' favorite? The villagers' whispering suddenly changed their expressions, as if realizing something, their eyes filled with fear. Those who spoke ill of Nian Nian faced consequences. Could it be that she really is favored by the heavens? Get to work. Less gossiping. They stopped discussing further, fearing that deeper conversations would lead to accusations of superstition and trouble. But in their hearts, they grew more wary of Nian Nian. Zhang Shizhen and his wife look terrified. Their eyes are glazed over, and they keep babbling nonsense, someone suddenly said. This couple was the one Nian Nian had taken care of the night before. They still hadn't recovered, screaming like ghosts whenever they saw someone, repeating, "Please spare us." Zhang Shizhen's parents wanted to ask the shaman from the neighboring village to exorcise them, but such things had to be done secretly. Shoo, someone reminded them, and everyone fell silent. The pale-faced couple, Zhang Shizhen and his wife, approached slowly. In just 2 nights, this strong couple looked weak, as if a gust of wind could knock them over. Zhang Shizhen's wife carried a basket covered with a cloth. They kept their heads down as they walked toward the back mountain. "Shizhen, are you okay?" Someone asked with concern. "We're fine." Zhang Shizhen forced a smile, but his pale face showed otherwise, and his wife looked the same. They hurried past the villagers, not in the mood to chat, quickly reaching the back mountain. They looked around, relieved to see no one. The couple found a secluded grave and took out incense, paper money, and gold bars prepared by their elders. They lit the incense, inserted it, and poured 3 cups of wine over the grave, kneeling down to bow several times. "Great ghost, please spare us. From now on, we will offer incense and money during festivals. Please don't come after us. Go to someone else, okay?" As they spoke, they nearly cried. If the ghost came again, they feared for their lives. After the ghost's visit, their home's water had turned foul, and they believed it was the ghost's punishment. After bowing, They burned the paper money and gold bars, the black ashes swirling in the air like butterflies, disappearing with the last wisp of smoke. The couple felt a bit more at ease. Having offered so much, surely the ghost wouldn't come after them again? They sneaked down the mountain, looking much better than when they went up. Nian Nian slept until 10, got up to wash up, and took a large plate of egg-fried rice that Grandma Tang had warmed for breakfast. It was still warm. She made a cup of malt milk and sliced an apple into 8 pieces, arranging them on a plate.
Perfect.
After breakfast, Nian Nian felt much better. She checked the time. It was 10:30, just the right time to start working. The horn hanging from the old camphor tree at the village entrance suddenly crackled, and the working villagers straightened up, looking toward the village head. They knew this was a sign of an important announcement. The village head is about to make an announcement,
Someone said.
Then a clear voice came from the horn, not the village head's rough voice, but just a single announcement. The villagers were stunned. If it wasn't the village head, who was it? The village head, working elsewhere, was also taken aback, quickly checking for his keys on his belt. They were still there. So, how did this person get into the village committee office? Captain, aren't you the captain anymore? Someone curiously asked, earning a glare from the village head. I'm Tang Nian Nian, borrowing the horn to say something. Nian Nian's voice soared, spreading throughout the village. The villagers stopped working, listening intently. The village head gritted his teeth, striding toward the village committee office. That girl must have climbed in through the window again. How audacious! Grandma Tang also arrived, worried that her granddaughter might say something outrageous. Recently, many people have been spreading rumors about me, claiming I have improper relationships with the directors of Hongxing Factory and Qianjin Factory. They say the machines and money for the sock factory were obtained through selling my body. I know who is spreading these rumors, but I won't name names here. However, I want to inform you all that I not only plan to run the sock factory, but also other factories. Those people will never have a chance to work in my factories. Even if I have to hire a dog to guard the place, I won't let them in. Nian Nian's voice was clear and powerful, and every villager heard her. Reactions varied. Some felt relieved, others frustrated, and some were angry. Those who gossiped felt regret and anger, but they also thought Nian Nian was exaggerating. How much power could a young girl really have? Running other factories too? She should be careful not to overreach. Let me say this. Anyone who speaks ill will face punishment. Just wait and see. Nian Nian boldly threatened them. After finishing, she turned off the horn and prepared to jump out the window, but someone grabbed her collar. It was the village head. I knew you came in through the window. Why didn't you ask me for the keys? If someone saw you and reported it, you'd be in big trouble. The village head was nearly driven mad by this girl. A pretty girl like her. Why did she always climb through windows? She had been like this since childhood, all because of that rascal Tang Montong's influence. Too lazy to ask for the keys. Nian Nian shrugged off the village head's grip, but he gave her a hard pat on the back. Why aren't you too lazy to eat? How dare you say such things over the horn? I'll knock you flat. Grandma Tang rushed over, patting Nian Nian a few times, her strength fading. She had heard that her granddaughter wanted to run other factories. This girl was truly reckless, thinking running a factory was as easy as farming. Just talking big without a plan. If the factory doesn't get established, where will this girl hide her face? People can die if they don't eat. Tang Nian Nian dodged the old lady's slap and retorted. She wished she had a body that could photosynthesize, but she didn't. If she didn't eat, her stomach would growl, and she couldn't stand the feeling of hunger. Did you do something to Zhang Shurgan's family last night? The old lady asked in a low voice. She could tell that when this girl shifted in her seat, she was up to no good, just like that troublemaker, Tang Mantong. In the sock factory, Tang Mantong was sneezing repeatedly, took out a handkerchief to wipe his nose, and muttered, "Which family is it?" While the old lady and the village leader were questioning Tang Nian Nian, they initially thought the couple had been haunted, but after hearing her speak, they understood. This girl was really bold. She didn't hide what she did. Instead, she announced it loudly. as if she wanted everyone in the village to know.
Not me.
Why would I do something so tiring at night? Tang Nian firmly denied it, giving a strong reason. How could someone as lazy as her cause trouble in the middle of the night? The old lady and the village leader were skeptical, feeling she wasn't telling the whole truth. Nian girl, do you really want to open a factory? The village leader asked quietly, his eyes shining with excitement. The sock factory had only created jobs for 60 or 70 people, but there were hundreds in Tang village. Excluding the 13 gossiping families, there were still 200 or 300 people who needed work. If everyone had a job, the whole village could eat meat. Yes, next year.
Tang Nian not dead.
The factory manager had already reported to the higher-ups, and if all went well, it would be approved next year. What kind of factory? The village leader's eyes lit up like the sun. A machinery factory. Don't tell anyone yet. I want my brother to manage it. Tang Nian was preparing to have Tang Jiangwo in charge. Okay, I won't say anything. The village leader was so happy he could almost float, wanting to support Tang Nian. Thanks to her, the eldest son had finally been promoted, and he was satisfied, not expecting more good news. Better to be a leader in a small factory than just another worker in a big one. With the eldest managing the machinery factory and the third managing the sock factory, the future looked bright. The village leader felt like he saw a golden path ahead, making him smile uncontrollably. The old lady was also excited and asked, "We can have your second uncle come back to work, so he won't be separated from your second aunt." The couple was currently living in different places, seeing each other only once a month. The old lady worried that if they stayed apart too long, it might cause problems. It was better for them to live together. As for her granddaughter, Tang Dandan, she would soon be in high school and could live at school. Okay. Tang Nian agreed that was her plan too. In her past life, Tang Mantong and his father had trouble at the Hongxing factory. With so many people there, it was easy for the Zhou family to cause trouble. It was safer to return to Tang village. I'm leaving. After saying this, Tang Nian jumped out of the window and disappeared shortly after. You little rascal. The old lady laughed and scolded, feeling very happy. The village leader was in high spirits, practically floating as he walked. As for what Tang Nian said on the loudspeaker, they didn't care. She was capable and had her own ideas. They couldn't control her, so they let her be. As long as no one got hurt, that was fine. The villagers who heard the loudspeaker guessed the truth. Zhang Shizhen and his wife had an incident last night, and it was highly likely related to Tang Nian. She almost said it outright. Even a fool could figure it out. But no one was focused on that. They were more interested in Tang Nian's plans to open a factory. Besides the sock factory, she wanted to open others, which was great news. Leader, is Nian girl really going to open a factory? I want to work there, even if it's dirty or hard work. I can too. The villagers saw the village leader and all spoke up with their requests. The sock factory workers had already received their first month's pay, earning 30 or 40 yuan, with some even getting over 40. They were envious. What's the rush? We'll talk about it next year. The village leader said, unable to hide his joy. The villagers understood that the factory plans were real and not just talk from Tang Nian. Nian girl is really capable. Our Tang village is about to soar. One villager suddenly exclaimed. Exactly. Soon, the Zhou villagers will envy us. The villagers were excited. They used to envy the Zhou villagers for their meat. Now it would be their turn to be envied. Ha ha ha. As for the gossiping families that Tang Nian mentioned would be punished, they didn't care. They hadn't said anything. Besides, those people had bad intentions and spoke ill of Nian girl, so it was only right for her to get back at them. Tang Nian wanted this outcome. She didn't want to sneak around. She wanted everyone in the village to know the consequences of crossing her. Zhang Shizhen's family also heard the loudspeaker and was furious, nearly spitting blood. What a wicked person. It was Tang Nian. The couple wanted to confront her, but feared retaliation. They were outsiders in the village and couldn't speak up. If it came to a fight, the villagers would surely side with Tang Nian. Forget it. We can't fight against the strong. Let's not cause trouble. Zhang Shurgan's father sighed, deciding to let it go. After all, it was his daughter-in-law who started the trouble. He glared at his daughter-in-law and scolded, "If you gossip again, just go back to your parents' house." Zhang Shurgan's wife lowered her head, feeling both ashamed and angry at Tang Nian. It was just a few words of gossip, but Tang Nian was so vicious. If heaven had eyes, it should strike her down first. Night fell, and the remaining 12 families were too scared to sleep. They wanted to catch Tang Nian in the act and report her to the village leader. But with Tang Nian's skills, even if they stayed awake, they couldn't catch her. That night, all 12 families mysteriously fainted and then woke up in terror. Even though they knew it was Tang Nian's doing, seeing such a terrifying ghost face and 2 live wolves made them too scared to handle it, and they wet themselves. After an hour of work, Tang Nian finally finished, clapped her hands, and went home to sleep. When morning came, the doors of the 12 families were wide open, and they didn't go to work. They had all fallen ill from the fright and being exposed to the cold wind all night. They couldn't even get up. Darn it! Aren't they afraid of retribution? Even the worst landlords weren't this bad. A few families were upset, sitting at their doors crying and making noise, but they didn't dare name names, only spoke in riddles. What's all this noise? Are you not working? Are you just waiting to starve? The captain appeared at the right moment and scolded everyone. "Captain, are we just going to let this go? My son and daughter-in-law are being bullied." An old woman stopped the captain, her face filled with anger. "What do you want me to do? Go down and confront Marx?"
Who knows what they did at night?
From now on, everyone should watch their mouths. Stop spreading nonsense and focus on your work. The captain scolded with a dark expression, not worried about anyone reporting him to the commune. No one saw that it was Nian who caused the trouble, so reporting wouldn't help. Moreover, Tang Village was now a model for the entire commune, and other production teams were coming to learn from them. He didn't have time for these trivial matters. Next month, other production teams will come to visit Tang Village. Let me be clear. If anyone dares to embarrass Tang Village, don't blame me for being ruthless. The captain spoke sternly, scanning the crowd with a fierce gaze, especially lingering on several restless families. "Don't worry, Captain. If anyone causes trouble, I'll be the first to deal with them." "Exactly. If anyone tries to ruin Tang Village, I'll smash their pots." The villagers voiced their support, mostly from the Tang family, united against outsiders. The captain was pleased and envisioned a bright future for their village. Everyone was fired up and ready to work. Get back to work. Do you think food will fall from the sky? With that, the captain dismissed them, and the villagers scattered. The 12 troublemaking families didn't dare to cause any more fuss. They kept their women in check, stopping them from spreading rumors, and the gossip in Tang Village quickly died down. Villagers from other areas heard about this, and were wary of Tang Nian. They had never seen such a bold girl who openly warned and punished others, yet no one dared to retaliate. Impressive. Tang Nian's bad reputation spread, and even people from the neighboring commune knew about the fierce girl named Tang Nian. They all agreed it was best not to provoke her. Gossip from other villages decreased significantly. No one wanted to offend Tang Nian, especially since they thought that once Tang Village's factory was up and running, they might need to hire workers from outside. Tang Nian clearly held the most power. She was someone to avoid angering. So, within a few days, the rampant rumors vanished, leaving Qi Guoxiu frustrated. She had worked hard to tarnish Tang Nian's reputation and was waiting to see her cry, but it all ended too soon. Qi Guoxiu planned to find some gossipers to spread even worse rumors about Tang Nian, feeling the need to retaliate for her own family's misfortunes. However, before she could act, Tang Nian showed up at her door. It was still late at night. Tang Nian didn't do much. She quietly entered the house, knocked Qi Guoxiu out, carried her from the bed, and tossed her onto Yang Baogen's bed, even stripping them both of their clothes. She didn't use any drugs. Her medicine was too precious for Qi Guoxiu and Yang Baogen. Yang Baozhen was Qi Guoxiu's father-in-law's nephew, and their houses were next to each other. By morning, someone would surely discover what happened in that room. She wanted to see if Qi Guoxiu had the courage to face it. This was just a taste of her own medicine. If Qi Guoxiu could get through this and live well, she would consider the matter settled. As long as Qi Guoxiu didn't provoke her again, she wouldn't retaliate. But if Qi Guoxiu couldn't handle it, that was not her concern. Those who start trouble deserve what they get. The bright moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating the bed. Yang Baozhen was the family's favorite, and his room was the best, with the largest bed and bright glass windows, but no curtains, allowing the moonlight to shine in. With an extra person in bed, Yang Baozhen remained oblivious, sprawled out and snoring, occasionally smacking his lips with a lewd smile. Tang Nianyan checked her watch. It was 3:30 a.m. It was May, and dawn came quickly. By 5 a.m., people in the village would start waking up. She approached the bed and took out a needle, poking Yang Baozhen. He woke up in pain, blinking in confusion, still half asleep. He mumbled something, rolled over, and closed his eyes again, only to bump into Qi Guoxiu's body. Qi Guoxiu, half awake, thought it was her husband and shifted her body in response. Tang Nian remained in the room, holding her breath, blending into the background. The two people on the bed were too focused on their own activities to notice her. After enjoying the unfolding drama, Tang Nian felt very satisfied and gave Yang Baozhen a thumbs up. It was getting light outside. Tang Nian took a quick glance at the two people fighting on the bed and quietly slipped out, not disturbing them at all. She checked her watch. An hour had passed, and the two in the room were still going at it. One was fearless, like a young calf, and the other was fierce, like a wolf. It was a perfect match of fire and kindling. The village roosters started crowing, one after another, until all the roosters joined in. Then came the barking of dogs, the mooing of cows, the bleating of sheep, and the quacking of ducks. It was quite a commotion. Another hour went by. It was already 5:30. People were starting to stir in the village, with hard-working villagers getting up to work. Lights turned on in Yang Baogen's house and next door at Qi Guoxiu's. Tang Nian decisively climbed up a nearby camphor tree, where the lush branches completely concealed her. From the tree, she had a clear view of both households and could hear everything.
Ah!
Who are you? A sharp scream came from Qi Guoxiu's house. By 6 o'clock, it was bright outside, and smoke began rising from the homes in the village as most people were already up. Qi Guoxiu's loud scream was particularly jarring, and nearby families rushed out to see what was happening. Among them were Qi Guoxiu's in-laws and husband, as well as Yang Baogen's parents. Qi Guoxiu's husband had just woken up and, not seeing his wife, assumed she had gone out to work. But then he heard her scream from his cousin's house next door.
Ah!
Why are you hitting me? This is my bed. Yang Baozhen yelled out, having been scratched hard by Qi Guoxiu, nearly blinding him in one eye. At 24 years old, this was only the second time Yang Baozhen had faced such humiliation. The first time was with Tang Nian, a fierce woman he couldn't handle. But that didn't mean he was afraid of the woman in bed. He had already slept with her and wasn't going to let her make a scene in front of him. Yang Baozhen didn't recognize Qi Guoxiu and didn't care to think about why there was another woman in bed. He covered his face with one hand and swung at Qi Guoxiu with the other. The two instantly got into a tussle, both still undressed. The noise quickly attracted the attention of Yang Baogen's parents, who thought a thief had entered, shouting, "Catch the thief." Then Qi Guoxiu's husband and her in-laws rushed over to help. Several nearby families, eager to assist, squeezed in, some even still with toothpaste foam in their mouths. Qi Guoxiu's husband, strong and young, was the first to charge in, kicking open Yang Baogen's door, revealing the scene inside. Everyone froze for a moment, then quickly turned around, facing away from the room. Qi Guoxiu and Yang Baozhen finally came to their senses, looking at each other and recognizing who they were.
Ah!
Qi Guoxiu screamed, trying to grab a blanket to cover herself. Yang Baozhen was equally startled and reached for the blanket. The small blanket was pulled back and forth between them, resulting in neither of them managing to cover up. Hearing his wife's voice, Chi Guoxiu's husband turned around in disbelief, his eyes bulging in shock. The shameless woman in his cousin's bed was indeed his wife. "You two scoundrels, I'll kill you." Chi Guoxiu's husband turned pale with rage, charging into the room and grabbing Yang Baozhen to start hitting him. Yang Baogen's parents and Chi Guoxiu's in-laws were stunned. How could this happen? The other eager neighbors pushed in closer to get a better view, wanting to catch every detail for gossip later. "I really don't know what happened. I thought I was dreaming. Please, I didn't steal your wife."
Yang Baogen protested, failing wronged.
He was just having a pleasant dream when suddenly there was another woman in bed. How could he resist such temptation? "Do you think I'm a fool? Tell me when you started seeing each other. I treated you like a brother, and you seduced my wife. I'll kill you, you filthy scoundrel." Chi Guoxiu's husband didn't believe him and hit him even harder. No wonder Chi Guoxiu hadn't wanted to be intimate with him lately. She must have been getting satisfaction elsewhere. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Chi Guoxiu's husband unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks without mercy. "Stop. Let's talk this out. Baozhen isn't that kind of person. There must be a misunderstanding." Yang Baogen's parents were anxious and pained, believing their son was innocent. Chi Guoxiu wasn't some stunning beauty, and she was older than their son. If Baozhen were to cheat, it wouldn't be with someone like her. "Misunderstanding my foot. You've brought this right to my doorstep. I treated you like a brother, and you all are worthless." Chi Guoxiu's father-in-law shouted angrily, his face flushed from the humiliation caused by the two. The fight on the bed escalated. In unbearable pain, Yang Baozhen began to fight back, accidentally kicking Chi Guoxiu's husband in the groin.
Ah!
"You dare to ruin my lineage? I'll destroy you." Chi Guoxiu's husband was in agony, cold sweat pouring down his face. He began to suspect that Chi Guoxiu's 2 children might not even be his. No wonder they looked nothing like him. If they were indeed not his, he would have to remarry and have more children. Yang Baozhen was too cruel, trying to make him childless. Filled with rage, Chi Guoxiu's husband only wanted to teach Yang Baozhen a harsh lesson. The two fought harder, moving from the bed to the floor, while others couldn't intervene. In reality, the fight didn't last long, only 4 or 5 minutes. Yang Baozhen was already at a disadvantage. Chi Guoxiu's husband, fueled by anger, mounted him, throwing punch after punch, his eyes turning red with fury.
Stop. Wah. Stop it.
Wrapped tightly in the blanket, Chi Guoxiu was terrified, her mind blank, only able to cry out, repeatedly saying, "Stop it." To her husband, it sounded like she was worried about her lover, Yang Baozhen, which only fueled his anger. He spotted a chair nearby and, without thinking, picked it up and swung it at Yang Baozhen on the floor.
Bang!
The chair smashed down on Yang Baogen's head, breaking the fight apart. Yang Baozhen fainted, his head not bleeding, but he looked pale and unwell. "Baozhen, what happened? Don't scare me. Wake up." Yang Baogen's mother rushed over, crying as if she had lost her son. At that moment, Chi Guoxiu's husband also came to his senses, glancing coldly at his unconscious cousin on the floor, not taking it seriously, thinking it was just a bump on the head. Nothing serious. He turned to look at the weeping Chi Guoxiu on the bed, his expression growing colder. "I didn't. I really don't know what happened. I thought it was you, I swear, I'm not lying." Chi Guoxiu was telling the truth. She had no idea why she was lying in Yang Baogen's bed after sleeping soundly at home. She truly believed that her husband was the one with her, even though she felt a bit confused since he seemed different. But she didn't think too much about it. At this moment, Chi Guoxiu felt particularly regretful. She should have opened her eyes and not cried out, attracting so many people. Now that things had come to this, it was useless to regret. Chi Guoxiu only hoped that her husband would spare her for the sake of their 2 children. "For the children's sake, please give me a chance. I'm begging you. I really don't know what happened, I swear."
Please.
Chi Guoxiu pleaded desperately, but her husband remained indifferent. He grabbed her hair and dragged her off the bed, the blanket falling away, leaving her exposed. But the man didn't care. A worthless woman didn't deserve any dignity. As Yang Baogan's cousin, Chi Guoxiu's husband had a bad temper and was violent. He would curse lightly and hit hard, and Chi Guoxiu had crossed a line with him. At that moment, he felt like killing her. "Please, let me put on some clothes. I'm begging you." Chi Guoxiu was dragged along the ground like an animal, her body quickly becoming bruised and bloody. She wasn't afraid of pain, but she still cared about her dignity. Now, she felt like a slaughtered animal, stripped bare and surrounded by the whole village, with no privacy or respect left. It was already bright outside, and the commotion at the Yang household attracted many onlookers. Nearly the entire village gathered, crowding around, some even holding bowls of food while watching the spectacle. What happened? Latecomers asked, confused. Chi Guoxiu was caught in bed with Yang Baozhen this morning, without any clothes on, and the room was filled with that smell. They must have done it at least 4 times. Oh wow. Yang Baozhen is that strong? Not married, doesn't have to work. All his energy goes into bed. No wonder Yang Baozhen is still single at his age. Turns out he's not interested. Chi Guoxiu is quite lucky, having both brothers serving her. Do you think Chi Guoxiu's 2 children are? Someone suddenly said, and though they didn't finish, everyone understood, their expressions becoming suggestive. Maybe those 2 kids don't look like their father at all. Another person chimed in, and everyone laughed, their eyes gleaming with schadenfreude. The gossip was loud enough for Chi Guoxiu's husband to hear. He already had suspicions, and with everyone egging him on, his anger boiled over, twisting his face in rage. "I'll kill you, shameless girl. How dare you put a green hat on me? I'll take your life." The man punched and kicked Chi Guoxiu without holding back. At first, she cried out, but soon she couldn't make a sound, curling up and enduring the beating like a broken doll. No one intervened. Everyone watched coldly. A shameless woman deserved to be beaten. Tang Mianyan watched from a tree, enjoying the scene, silently giving a thumbs up to Chi Guoxiu's husband. She pulled out a bag of seeds from her pocket. This show was too good not to enjoy with a snack, especially 5-spice flavor. "What are you all doing here? Aren't you supposed to be working?" A man around 50 approached, scowling. He was the village leader. "Leader, Chi Guoxiu was caught with Yang Baozhen in bed," a concerned villager reported loudly. The leader's face darkened further as he looked disdainfully at the battered Chi Guoxiu on the ground and ordered, "Let Chi Guoxiu go clean the manure. Everyone else, get to work, stop crowding here." Chi Guoxiu's body twitched. She felt like she had been run over by a truck. Her bones felt broken. She couldn't understand how things had come to this. How did she end up in Yang Baogan's bed? Had she sleepwalked there? "Leader, I want a divorce from this girl." Chi Guoxiu's husband kicked her hard and spat in disgust. "No, I won't divorce you. Please, for the sake of our 2 children, give me another chance. I'm begging you." Like a lifeless corpse, Chi Guoxiu suddenly came to life, clinging desperately to her husband's leg. With her family gone, she had nowhere to go. If she divorced, she would be left with no options, only a dead end. The man kicked her away. A woman like her had to be divorced. After that, he could marry a younger, prettier woman. Chi Guoxiu curled up on the ground, crying, not caring that she was still naked. The village leader, unable to watch any longer, had someone bring her clothes to cover her up, sparing her further embarrassment. The villagers were still intrigued. This drama was quite entertaining. Just as everyone was about to leave, a piercing voice rang out. It was Yang Baogan's mother. "Baozhen, don't scare me. My dear Baozhen, wake up." Yang's mother cried out in despair, her wailing echoing like a funeral. Yang's father, pale-faced, rushed out like a headless fly, bumping into people. "Something happened to Baozhen, something happened to Baozhen." Yang's father kept repeating that something was wrong, slapping his thigh in frustration, unable to speak clearly. The village leader frowned, cursing under his breath, and went inside to see what had happened. Yang Baozhen had already been moved to the bed, and the smell in the room still lingered. The village leader looked at Chiguoxiu with increasing disdain. Truly a promiscuous woman. Bao Zhen, don't scare me. Wake up quickly. Yang's mother wiped her tears, while Yang Baozhen lay on the bed, his face paler than a corpse, with blood at the corners of his mouth. He just woke up, coughed up blood, and fainted again. Leader, Baozhen can't be in trouble. He hasn't even married yet. He needs to carry on the Yang family line. Yang's mother cried, her voice breaking. The village leader checked under Yang Baogen's nose. His heart sank as he felt weak breaths. This situation was indeed serious. Take him to the clinic. The village leader decisively ordered, calling over several strong young men to carry Yang Baozhen on a door planked to the clinic. Before long, the village quieted down as a group went to the clinic, while others returned to work. Only Chiguoxiu remained lying on the ground, covered with clothes. Her body was bruised, her gaze filled with despair and numbness. After a while, she slowly got up, wrapped in the clothes, and returned home. Tang Nian jumped down from the tree, clapped her hands, and left. Indeed, evil people face their fate. She had only moved Chiguoxiu to another place to sleep, and nothing else happened, yet it caused such a big uproar. Heaven truly worked wonders. That scoundrel Yang Baozhen was probably ruined, hid in the temple, and moved by his ignorant parents. He wouldn't die, but would be paralyzed. As for Chiguoxiu, she would be branded a loose woman and surely divorced. A woman without family, husband, or a reputation in this era would find it impossible to survive. Tang Nian was looking forward to seeing Chiguoxiu's miserable future and even hoped that the woman would be strong enough to live a few more days. Her enemies were not very useful. They died too quickly. Lu Jinglan was dead, and the Qi family was wiped out. There was no one left for her to practice her skills on, which felt quite lonely. Oh, and what about the mentally ill Zhou Siren? She wondered if he was still alive. Tang Nian casually thought of Zhou Siren. It had been a week since he was sent to the mental hospital. Those two girls shouldn't have killed him, right? She also wondered if her family's Shen Xiao had shared any news with the Zhou family. Tang Nian didn't think much of it. Someone like Zhou Siren dying was no big deal. She took a shortcut down the mountain and reached the roadside without being seen. She had also gathered a basket of tiger bamboo shoots. With no one around, she took out her bicycle and leisurely rode back. Zhou family in the capital, there's still no news about Siren, Dad. He can't be in trouble. Zhou's second son found the old man, tears in his eyes. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter, and Zhou Siren was the most outstanding. If something happened to him, the second branch would never have a chance to shine again. I've already sent someone to Zhucheng. Why are you crying like a big man? The old man glared at him. His 2 sons were useless. The eldest was foolish, and the second was timid. He had 5 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. The most promising was Zhou Xiliang, followed by Zhou Siren. The other 3 grandsons were not impressive. The eldest, Zhou Ximing, was decent in studies but too weak to do anything useful. The Zhou family didn't need scholars. The old man had long given up on Zhou Ximing and focused on training his second grandson, Zhou Xiliang. But now, Zhou Xiliang was incapacitated, and the third grandson, Zhou Siren, who went to find the Tang family's secret medicine, was also missing. The old man was anxious, but didn't show it. He needed to stay calm. The other 2 grandsons, one 20 and the other 18, were just playboys with many friends but no ability to handle serious matters. He had never expected much from them. They were useless. The 2 granddaughters were capable. One was married and the other was still at home, but eventually they would belong to someone else, no matter how talented they were. The old man suddenly felt a sense of despair. After a lifetime of heroics, how did he end up without a suitable successor?
Dad, who did you send?
Zhou's second son, Zhou Xingjia, asked. Si Ming, along with the Lu family. The Lu family's daughter was in Tang village and died recently. They went to collect her ashes. The old man replied calmly. The Lu family's daughter? Is she the girl who used to play with Siren? How did she die? Zhou Xingjia remembered Lu Jinglan, who had a decent relationship with his younger brother Siren. She was of average looks, and her parents were Cultural Bureau officials, so her family background was also ordinary. Dead is dead. Why ask so much? The old man's temper flared, and he scolded him, darkening his expression. He had sent someone to investigate, and Lu Jinglan's death was related to Tang Nian Nian. He had underestimated Tang Nian Nian. Dad, Siming can't carry anything or lift anything. What can he do? Why not send Siwu instead? Zhou Xingjia suggested quietly. Zhou Siming was his eldest son. Although he was a scholar, he was still his own flesh and blood. He felt that Zhu Cheng had some bad vibes. It was better to send Zhou Siwu from the eldest branch. The old man shot him a cold glance, seeing through his son's intentions. All his cleverness was used against his own family.
Get out.
The old man's voice was icy. He was utterly disappointed in his second son. Zhou Xingjia left in frustration and called his eldest son, Zhou Siming. Zhou Siming had graduated from a military university and was working at the Cultural Bureau. When Zhou Xingjia called, he learned that his eldest son was on a business trip and had been gone for several days. Zhou Siming had already arrived in Zhucheng, just getting off the train. The leaders of the Zhucheng Cultural Bureau personally came to greet him. He was leading a team with Lu Jinglan's father to investigate historical sites, funded by the government. Zhucheng was known as the State of Yu during the spring and autumn period, so investigating historical sites was not unusual. He and his brother Zhou Siren didn't look much alike. He was more delicate, of average height, with fair skin and thick glasses. Although he was refined, he had a gloomy demeanor and an air of arrogance, not very approachable. Director Zhou, Section Chief Liu, and all leaders, thank you for your hard work. The leaders of the Zhucheng Cultural Bureau smiled broadly, shaking hands with the visitors from the capital. Zhou Siming's expression was cold. He was the leader of this investigation but was reserved and disliked socializing. As the eldest son of the Zhou family, he held a high status and was used to being flattered, which made him proud and aloof. Lu Jinglan's father was named Lu Kongri, a very politically correct name. He was the deputy leader of this investigation and was good at socializing, adept at navigating relationships. Following the Zhou family's instructions, he was determined to cooperate with Zhou Siming to complete the task given by the Zhou family. Along the way, Lu Kongri chatted with the reception staff from Zhucheng, while Zhou Siming spoke no more than 3 sentences. Although the Zhucheng staff felt dissatisfied, they didn't dare show it. They couldn't afford to offend the Zhou family and had to be respectful. Upon arriving at the hotel, Zhou Siming called the capital. Tang Nian Nian is not simple. Be careful. We need to find the Tang family's treasure and Siren. Lu Kongri will take the lead. You can stay in the background. If anything happens, contact these people. The old man had given his grandson a few names, all prominent figures in Zhucheng, including the police chief, Guan. As for Lu Kongri, the old man saw through his intentions at a glance. A flatterer like him was perfect to be a shield for his grandson. I understand, Grandpa. Zhou Siming replied eagerly, but he felt somewhat disdainful inside. She was just a rural girl. How powerful could she be? Zhou Siren had always been brave, but lacked wisdom. Yet the old man favored such traits. In the Zhou family, being able to fight was what earned the old man's affection. Zhou Siren was just physically weak, but his mind was the sharpest among the grandsons, yet the old man didn't appreciate him. This was a rare opportunity for Zhou Siming. He was determined to find the Tang family's treasure and show the old man his worth. It was May 26th. In a few days, it would be June. Tang Nian Nian had gone to Wuqing to bring back some machines, which she was slowly repairing in her space. Zhou Guqing was also busy with the various procedures to set up a factory. Tang Nian Nian had not neglected the businesses of Qianjin Factory and Hongxing Factory. Everything was completed perfectly. Tang Jiangua and Meng Rant's 4 apprentices were making significant progress under her training. In 2 months, they would be able to operate the machines. These 4 already had several years of experience with machine tools and were skilled in practice. With just a little training, they would quickly get the hang of it. The weather at the end of May was neither hot nor cold, especially after lunch, which made people sleepy. After eating, Tang Nian yawned, set up a lounge chair in the yard, grabbed a blanket, and lay down to sleep. Tang Lao Tai glared at her with gritted teeth, but after some hesitation, she said nothing. A few days ago, her granddaughter had given her 2 gold bracelets, heavy and beautiful, clearly something a wealthy lady would wear. She had hidden them away. Considering the 2 gold bracelets, she decided to let the girl be lazy. Out of sight, out of mind. After tidying up the kitchen, Tang Lao Tai hurried off to work at the sock factory, along with Su Jinfeng and Xian Jinju. The 3 of them were very busy now. Tang Nian was sleeping soundly when she was suddenly awakened by a thunderous shout. Qi Guoxiu jumped into the river? Yang Baozhen is dead? Oh my! The heavens have truly opened their eyes. Old Lady Tang shouted loudly, slapping her thigh with excitement, her teeth showing in a big grin. After she went to the workshop and realized she forgot her tea jar, she rushed back to get it and heard this great news. She felt like setting off 1,000 firecrackers to celebrate. Yang Baozhen was killed by Qi Guoxiu's man? Why did he hit him? Old Lady Tang was very curious. There must be a big story behind it. Qi Guoxiu and Yang Baozhen were having an affair. They got caught early in the morning, and her man got so angry that he beat Yang Baozhen. Yang Baozhen was unlucky and got hit on the head by a stool. He was taken to the clinic but didn't make it, and he died the next day. Yang Baozhen is really not picky going for someone like Qi Guoxiu? Old Lady Tang clicked her tongue, feeling that Yang Baozhen's death was a bit unfair. Qi Guoxiu was the ugliest in her family. Her sister Qi Guochun was pretty, and Qi Guohua was also handsome. Qi Guoxiu was plain-looking and older than Yang Baozhen. Their affair was like an eagle preying on a chick. Not only that, but they had a wild night together, 8 times. Even a bull can't compare. The woman sharing the news spoke as if she had witnessed it all, making it sound vivid. The production team's bull can't even plow 8 acres of land. Yang Baozhen probably didn't die from the stool, but was drained dry by Qi Guoxiu. Old Lady Tang sighed. Who knows? Yang Baozhen's parents placed his body at Qi Guoxiu's husband's doorstep and refused to bury him. They've been causing a scene for 2 days, insisting that Qi Guoxiu's husband must go to jail to pay for their son's life. The Yang family blames Qi Guoxiu, calling her a jinx. Yesterday, she went to the commune to get a divorce certificate, and today she jumped into the river. They haven't even recovered her body yet. Maybe she was dragged away by a water monster. Qi Guoxiu deserves it. No one in her family is good. Even heaven can't stand them and wants to take them away. Old Lady Tang snorted, feeling no sympathy, only satisfaction. She praised the heavens again for their good work lately. Everyone she disliked had met a bad end, making her very happy. After chatting for a while, Old Lady Tang returned home, finding Tang Nian already awake. She nagged, "It's getting windy. Go back inside to sleep. You'll catch a cold out here and have to take medicine, wasting money."
Oh.
Tang Nian yawned, her eyes still sleepy, her face rosy from being wrapped in a blanket. Old Lady Tang felt a bit nostalgic seeing her granddaughter like this, reminding her of little Nian, a delicate bundle who needed to be held to sleep. If she was laid on the bed, she would wake up immediately. Nian was the only one she had held since childhood. She never held her other granddaughters. Every time Nian woke up, she looked like this, with a rosy face and teary eyes, making you want to pinch her cheeks. Are you still sleepy? I told you not to sleep too much during the day. It makes you duller. Old Lady Tang couldn't help but pinch her granddaughter's face a few times. Her hands were rough from years of work, and even though she didn't pinch hard, it still hurt a bit. Tang Nian puffed out her cheeks in protest. "Grandma, if you pinch me again, I won't give you my gold bracelet. Keep your voice down. Don't let anyone hear. What's wrong with a few pinches? You're so precious. Did I pinch the others as much when they were little?" Old Lady Tang looked around to make sure no one was watching before she finally rushed off to the sock factory with her tea jar. Tang Nian wrapped herself in the blanket and went back to her room. After washing her face and tying her hair up, She took her basket and headed to the back mountain. There was a shortcut to Chiguishio's village, and she wanted to see the commotion. The river in Yang village connected to the river in Tang village and was located at the village entrance. A few boats were on the water, trying to recover Chiguishio's body, and many people were gathered on the shore to watch. Tang Mianyan squeezed into the crowd, wearing a turtleneck that covered most of her face, making her less noticeable. "Over here. We found her," someone on the boat shouted, and someone jumped into the water. Soon, they brought Chiguishio's body to shore. "She jumped last night. She must be dead."
Ugh.
This filthy woman polluted the river. The villagers watching showed no sympathy for Chiguishio. Even in death, they continued to insult her. Chiguishio's body was pale from being in the water, and someone checked her nose and shook their head. Tang Mianyan then went to Yang Baogan's house, which was indeed lively. Yang Baogan's body was placed at the entrance of Chiguishio's in-laws' house, covered with a white cloth over his face. Yang's mother lay on the ground, expressionless and hopeless. She had cried for 2 days and was now exhausted. Yang's father sat on the threshold with the same vacant look. Their only son was dead and they didn't want to live anymore. They just wanted Chiguishio and her husband to pay for it. "Let him pay for my son's life. If my son is dead, he must die too." Yang's mother suddenly screamed, her expression wild, like a madwoman. The team leader tried to persuade them, but it was useless. Yang Baogan's parents insisted that Chiguishio's husband must pay with his life. Otherwise, they wouldn't let their son be buried and would keep him at the door. Tang Mianyan watched the commotion for a while before leaving. What happened next was none of her business. Those who had harmed her in her past life had already faced their punishment. The next day, news spread in Yang village that no one was willing to take care of Chiguishio's burial. It was the team leader who stepped in and hastily buried her. Yang Baozhen was also buried. Chiguishio's husband didn't go to jail. He gave their son to Yang Baogan's family and paid them 1,000 yuan, but he couldn't afford that much money right away, so he owed them. The two families had become sworn enemies, and there would surely be more trouble in the future. Hearing this news, old lady Tang was in a great mood. The food in the Tang household had been unexpectedly good lately, with plenty of oil and meat, and everyone was satisfied. But with good news, there always comes some bad news. The team leader received a call from the commune, saying that leaders from the capital were coming to Tang village to investigate historical sites, and he was responsible for the reception. Leaders? What historical sites are there in Tang village? We haven't produced a single county magistrate. The team leader was a bit confused. The most Tang village could claim was a capitalist from many years ago, something he had heard from his grandfather, but that was hundreds of years ago and had nothing to do with Tang village now. There was no way it could be related to historical sites. Were the leaders from the capital just bored? Why do you care so much? Just make sure you handle the reception. The commune leader replied impatiently. He was confused too, but since the higher-ups had given the order, he had to make it happen. How will the food expenses be calculated? Leaders, Tang village is struggling. We can barely make ends meet. The team leader complained about their poverty. If a group came to investigate, they would definitely eat a lot, and he needed to keep track of the costs. Enough. Right now, your Tang village team is the richest in the whole commune. Don't come crying to me. The leaders from the capital won't eat for free. Funds have already been allocated. I'll give you the money later. The commune leader scolded with a laugh. All right, I'll arrange everything right away. As soon as the team leader heard there was money involved, he was full of energy and immediately set about arranging accommodation. The Tang family was the first choice for the team leader. They had plenty of rooms, it was clean, and the food was good, which would surely satisfy the leaders from the capital. He wanted to talk to old lady Tang about this. Leaders from the capital are staying at my house? Are they paying? Old lady Tang immediately asked. If there was no money, she wouldn't do it. There is money. Once the funds come through, I'll give it to you. The team leader promised. How much? If it's too little, I won't do it. My family's food is better than the emperor's. Old lady Tang was sharp-minded. While hosting the leaders from the capital would bring some prestige, She wasn't one to chase after empty fame. She preferred real benefits. She wouldn't engage in a losing deal. I'll arrange for 2 people at your place, with a daily allowance of $1.50 and a pound of grain tickets. Is that okay?
The team leader said.
That works. When are they coming? Old Lady Tang's tone was a bit reluctant. In the past, she would have been thrilled with this price. But now, she earned $18 a month and owned 3 gold bracelets, along with $1,289.39 in private savings. This little amount didn't impress her. However, she was a person of principle and would support the team's work, not wanting to hold them back. They'll come this afternoon. Dinner needs to be arranged. And prepare 2 rooms. The team leader instructed. 1 man and 1 woman? Old Lady Tang asked curiously.
No, 2 men.
Old Lady Tang scoffed. 2 big men needing 2 rooms? City folks really have too many quirks. The team leader thought the same, but these 2 were leaders from the inspection team, and the commune leaders had specifically instructed that they should be treated well and given single rooms that were clean and hygienic. Tang Nian was unaware of this. After getting up in the morning, she went to the back mountain, claiming she was going to pick bamboo shoots, but in reality, she wanted to ask Old Master Zhang some questions. Old Master Zhang was a top expert in aerodynamics and automation, and he was also knowledgeable in electromechanics. Tang Nian mainly wanted to understand the current level of electromechanical technology, as the machine tool factory was set to be built next spring. She needed to produce machine tools that were slightly better than the current level, but not too advanced to raise suspicions from the state. She didn't understand this area well, and needed to consult Old Master Zhang. Old Master Zhang was happy to help Tang Nian, patiently explaining everything, breaking it down piece by piece, worried she might not understand. Meanwhile, Deng Chongsheng sat outside, cutting grass, his eyes sharp, glancing up occasionally. In fact, with Bai Sui and Fu Bao around, even if a fly flew by, Tang Nian would know, so Deng Chongsheng's vigilance was unnecessary. But she didn't stop him. If he didn't do some work, he might think he was useless. Nian girl, did you understand? Do you want me to repeat it? Old Master Zhang licked his dry lips, his throat feeling parched, but he looked eagerly at Tang Nian. If she shook her head, he'd repeat it and explain even more. I understand. Thank you, Old Master Zhang. Tang Nian nodded, and she had a general understanding of the current electromechanical level. Old Master Zhang felt a bit regretful. He hadn't finished explaining everything he wanted to share. A tea jar was handed over, filled with cooled tea. Have some water. Tang Nian pushed the tea jar into Old Master Zhang's hands. She had added some spiritual spring water to help him regain his health. Old Master Zhang gulped down half the jar, feeling much better, energized, and ready to talk for another 8 hours. As Tang Nian prepared to leave, Old Master Zhang pulled out a stack of papers from under his bedding, filled with notes, and solemnly handed them to her. Nian girl, these are the high school exam materials I've organized, along with some test questions. Take them home to study. Even though Tang Nian said she was confident, Old Master Zhang still worried. It took him a whole month to compile this information. Tang Nian took the materials, quickly glanced through a few pages, and noticed many questions were spot on. This old man was truly impressive. His mind was sharp. In her past life, even a poor student like Lu Jinglan managed to get into a prestigious university thanks to Old Master Zhang, showing how valuable this information was. Thank you, I'll study it. Tang Nian didn't say any insincere polite words. She rolled up the materials and put them away, promising to look at them. Old Master Zhang smiled with satisfaction, glad to help Nian girl. He had received so much from her, and it felt good to give back a little. Don't skimp on food. Tang Nian took out a large piece of fresh pork from her backpack. The pigs she raised in her space had grown, and she had slaughtered one, with more than enough to eat. She also brought out milk powder, tea leaves, various candies, mosquito coils, and floral water, filling the table. The cow shed was on the mountain, and there were many mosquitoes. With cow dung attracting bugs, they buzzed around during the day. The 2 old men usually used dried mugwort, bundled it, lit it, and filled the room with smoke to drive away the mosquitoes. While it worked well, it only lasted a while. The shed was drafty, and once the smoke cleared, the mosquitoes would come back to bite. Tang Nian noticed both old men had several red spots on their faces and hands. Mosquito coils are too expensive. We can just use mugwort. Old Master Zhang thought using mosquito coils was too extravagant. Hardly any family in Tang Village could afford them. Put it on the account. Tang Nian shot back. She wasn't taking it for free. She'd have to pay it back later. Old Master Zhang thought about it and agreed. They had already kept track of so many accounts, so they could settle it later. Recently, with the temperature rising, the mosquitoes seemed to be everywhere, buzzing at night, making it hard for him and old Deng to sleep. Using mosquito coils was indeed more suitable. Tang Nian had brought many mosquito coils. They were similar to the ones available now, just unpacked. I'm leaving. Tang Nian packed her things and headed for the door. She needed to go home for lunch. Today, she had ordered a special dish, braised pork with tofu skin. Although old lady Tang had grumbled for a long time, she still made it. Tang Nian planned to eat an extra bowl of rice. Braised pork with tofu skin. Nian girl is leaving. Deng Changsheng smiled broadly, looking at Tang Nian with more warmth than he would show his own grandchildren. Tang Nian remained expressionless, seeming hard to approach and a bit disrespectful. But the two old men didn't mind. This was the real Nian girl, much better than those who smiled while hiding daggers. As she reached the foot of the mountain, she heard Jiao Jin's loud voice. Fu Bao, you're amazing. Bai Sui is amazing too. The other kids didn't forget to praise Bai Sui. Everyone is amazing. Roast them and give some to Bai Sui and Fu Bao. Jiao Jin's little face trembled with laughter as he pointed at a few half-dead field mice on the ground, caught by Bai Sui and Fu Bao. In the past, roasted field mice would have been a treat for the kids, but now they didn't want to eat them, especially since they had milk candies and biscuits. They decided to let Bai Sui and Fu Bao have them instead. Fu Bao's eyes sparkled, and his tail wagged joyfully. His snow-white fur was smooth and shiny, showing no signs of being a wolf, just a lovely, beautiful big white dog. The people of Tang Village also regarded Fu Bao as a dog and didn't associate him with wolves at all. After all, which family's wolf wags its tail so happily and is so affectionate? A few kids gathered materials and dug a hole, creating a long trench for fire safety. They learned from adults that it was necessary to dig this when making a fire on the mountain. Soon, the smell of meat wafted through the air. Tang Nian sniffed and honestly thought the aroma was really tempting. It smells so good. Jiao Jin, can I have a bite? One little boy was so tempted that tears rolled down his cheeks, and the others were the same, their eyes fixed on the roasted field mice over the fire, swallowing hard. But they had promised Bai Sui and Fu Bao not to break their word. Ask Fu Bao and Bai Sui. If they agree, then it's fine. Jiao Jin was the only one not tempted. Her family ate meat every day, so she was used to it. Fu Bao blinked innocently, making the other kids feel guilty. They quickly said, we won't eat. Let Fu Bao and Bai Sui have it. They were good kids who kept their promises, as their second sister had taught them. Their second sister also said she didn't like kids who broke their promises. They wanted candy and cookies, and if they had to choose between a full meal and candy, they would definitely choose the latter. They couldn't give up many future candies and cookies for a bit of field mouse meat. Once the field mouse was roasted, the delicious smell filled the air. Jiao Jin kindly removed the innards and fur for Bai Sui and Fu Bao to eat. 3 for Fu Bao, 3 for Bai Sui, half for each. Hurry up and eat. Jiao Jin fairly divided the field mice, and the kids squatted down to watch Bai Sui and Fu Bao eat. Bai Sui and Fu Bao had big mouths, finishing the meat quickly. Fu Bao licked its lips, feeling unsatisfied, thinking that life used to be too hard. Raw meat couldn't compare to cooked meat. The Wolf King always said humans were very bad and told them to stay away from them. Fu Bao's parents said the same. At 2 years old, Fu Bao was taught to stay away from humans and be loyal to the Wolf King. But after its parents died, The Wolf King was influenced by a favored female wolf and expelled Fu Bao from the pack. Fu Bao understood what happened. Its mother was the most beautiful in the pack, and that jealous female wolf was the reason. Humph, that mean wolf. Now, Fu Bao had a beautiful master and Bai Sui as a brother, drinking from the spirit spring every day and eating delicious meat. Life was much better than under the Wolf King. Fu Bao really wanted to encounter the wolf pack again to show them its good life now. Its fur was much prettier than the Wolf King's. After Bai Sui and Fu Bao finished eating, Tang Nian Nian came down. Second sister, I picked a lot of bamboo shoots for you. Second sister, I gathered many prickly vegetables for you. Second sister, I collected a lot of a gong gong for you. Second sister, I picked some wild kiwis for you. Second sister, do you want some sour fruits? When the kids saw Tang Nian Nian, they rushed over like wild monkeys from Flower Fruit Mountain, showing off their harvest. All were wild fruits and vegetables from the mountain, filling Tang Nian Nian's basket. Good. Tang Nian Nian accepted everything, especially the a gong gong, which she hadn't had in a long time. The little girl who picked a gong gong was very careful, stringing them together like red agate, sweet and sour, much better than greenhouse strawberries. They were called a gong gong in the local dialect. She didn't know the scientific name. They were a bit like raspberries, her childhood favorite. Here. As Tang Nian Nian ate a gong gong, she took out a big bag of cookies from her basket. They were bowl cookies she bought from the store, long and rectangular, with small holes and sprinkled with sugar, costing 1 yuan for 2. These cookies tasted great, with a milky flavor that Tang Nian Nian liked. 5 pieces for each. Tang Nian Nian gave each child 5 pieces, wanting to share since they brought her so much. Second sister, you're so nice. Second sister, you're better than my real sister. Second sister, will you be my mom? The kids couldn't stop talking, their words getting sillier. Tang Nian Nian gently tapped the head of the child who wanted her to be their mom, playfully saying, I can't have a child as big as you, Jiujin. It's time to go home for dinner.
Oh.
Tang Jiujin picked up a full basket of pig grass and a bundle of firewood, running quickly with her short legs to follow Tang Nian Nian down the mountain. Bai Sui and Fu Bao walked beside her like loyal bodyguards. On the way, Tang Nian Nian nibbled on a sour fruit. One bite made her face scrunch up from the sourness, but she stubbornly refused to spit it out, finishing the whole thing. She didn't eat the prickly vegetables, too lazy to peel them, planning to have Jiujin help her when they got home, paying her 50 cents for the work. Tang Nian Nian's grandmother was waiting at the gate, looking out for her 2 granddaughters. She shouted, dinner's ready. If they didn't come back soon, she would go find them on the mountain.
Grandma, here, have this.
Tang Nian Nian took an a gong gong and stuffed it into her grandmother's mouth. Don't eat too much. Dinner is almost ready, or you won't have room for it. Tang Nian Nian's grandmother scolded lightly and went to the kitchen. There was one last bowl of vegetables left, which she would cook once everyone was back, so it wouldn't get cold and taste bad. Today's lunch at the Tang family was especially generous. A big bowl of braised pork with tofu skin, steamed snails, steamed potatoes, steamed edamame, stir-fried greens, scrambled eggs with chives, and seaweed egg soup. The meat was fresh pork that Tang Nian Nian brought back, about 10 pounds. Her grandmother generously cooked half and stored the other half in the well to keep it cool for later. Ever since she started working at the sock factory, Tang Nian Nian's grandmother had become more generous with food. In the past, she would have made 10 pounds of meat last for half a year. During lunch, Tang Nian Nian's grandmother announced that officials from the capital would be staying at their house. Officials from the capital are coming to stay with us? We need to clean up. Su Jinfeng was surprised and a bit proud. Tang Nian Nian's grandmother nodded and instructed, after we eat, clean up those 2 rooms in the west wing and let the straw dry in the sun to make it comfortable. They also used straw, which they changed every year and had to dry often. It was quite comfortable. Tang Nian Nian frowned. She didn't like having outsiders in the house, especially 2 men. It was so annoying. Grandma, can't we refuse? Your third uncle already agreed. He said they would give 1 yuan 50 and a pound of grain tickets per day. Just ignore them. They won't eat with us. They'll have their own table. Tang Nian grandmother knew her concerns and quickly reassured her. What famous people came from Tang village? Are there really historical sites? Tang Nian was skeptical. She had lived in Tang village for 17 years and had never heard of any big figures. Not even a low-ranking official had come from there. How could there be historical sites? Her great-great-great-great-grandfather had money, but he had nothing to do with history. He was just a businessman. Who knows what officials think? Common people like us have no idea. Anyway, they are paying, so why not take it? Tang Nian's grandmother didn't care about historical sites. She only cared about the subsidies. Tang Nian didn't want to think about it anymore. She took a piece of braised pork with tofu skin, which had been simmering for hours, soaking up the meat flavor. Even better than the meat itself. The soup mixed with rice was delicious. She could eat 4 bowls. Grandma, can we make this again tomorrow? Tang Nian hadn't had enough, and there was still half the meat left. Every meal with meat? You're living better than an emperor. Tang Nian's grandmother glared at her, not agreeing. They would definitely wait a day before having it again. Even the emperor didn't have such good meals. Tang Nian didn't say anything more. If her grandmother wouldn't cook it, she would do it herself. For something delicious, she was willing to put in the effort. After lunch, Tang Nian went to take a nap. Half asleep, she was awakened by her grandmother's loud voice. 2 yuan is not enough. If I had known this old glasses guy was the father of a female thug, I would never agree. Tang Nian's lingering sleepiness was instantly disturbed by the shouting. Who was the old glasses wearer? Who was the female thug? What had she missed? Tang Nian quickly got up, dressed, ran her fingers through her hair and rushed outside to see what was happening. Old Lady Tang stood at the entrance of the courtyard, refusing to let anyone in. The captain's face was also grim. He had no idea that the person from the capital was actually Lu Jinglan's father. If he had known, he certainly wouldn't have arranged for them to stay at Tang Nian's house. Lu Kongri, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looked a bit dark, and beside him, Zhou Siming looked even worse. They hadn't even entered the Tang family home when this old hag stopped them and insulted them. Zhou Siming had a slight understanding of Lu Jinglan's situation. He knew she had been sent to the countryside for reform after making a mistake, but had died unexpectedly. However, he didn't know what mistake Lu Jinglan had made. Hearing old Lady Tang curse the female thug made him furious. As a prominent young master of the Zhou family, even if he wasn't favored by his father, no one in the capital dared to treat him this way. This rural old woman was too bold. Captain Tang, didn't you say everything was arranged? The accompanying commune official looked displeased and questioned the captain harshly. Leader, you didn't mention that this old glasses wearer. No, this comrade Lu is Lu Jinglan's father. If I had known, I wouldn't have arranged this. The captain protested. Old Lady Tang chimed in loudly. Lu Jinglan went to the farm for reform and ended up being a loose woman. All the men at the farm have been with her. Our Tang family is poor. My husband fought against the Japanese and still has bullets from them in his body. We absolutely refuse to take in the family of such a female thug. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. The daughter of a female thug must be a rogue too. Even if she were offered 3 yuan a day, she would refuse. Lu Kongri's face turned pale with shame and anger. Lu Jinglan was not his favorite daughter. He had 4 daughters and Lu Jinglan was second, not the most outstanding in looks or talent. She usually behaved very ordinarily, but last year, she had changed completely, helping the family avoid trouble and befriending the Zhou family's young master. These impressive actions had made him see her in a new light and have high hopes for her. Unfortunately, his second daughter had fallen in Tang village and died in such an undignified way. If it weren't for the old Master Zhou's order, Lu Kongri wouldn't have wanted to come to Zhucheng to collect his daughter's ashes. He had already sent his eldest son to bring back the ashes of this rebellious daughter, along with his niece Yang Hongling's, which had been kept at the village committee. Since he was here, he might as well collect them and have his eldest son take them back together. It was this matter that went wrong. The captain of Tang village was a blabbermouth and immediately told this old hag, and now he and Zhou Siming were blocked at the door, insulted in such a terrible way. Indeed, this rural old woman was crude and lacked any decency. 3 yuan a day and a pound of grain tickets. Zhou Siming, impatient, didn't want to argue with the rural old woman and raised the offer. He couldn't believe that a rural old woman could refuse such temptation. The villagers watching gasped, their eyes filled with desire. They wouldn't mind if the old glasses wearer was a rogue. You think having money makes you special? I don't need your little bit of money. The money from a rogue has a foul smell. Get lost. Old Lady Tang picked up a broom from the wall, which she had just used to sweep the chicken coop and was covered in chicken droppings, and swung it at Zhou Siming and the others. A few hits landed on Zhou Siming, visibly staining his clothes with chicken droppings. His face turned as dark as coal, and he had to exert great effort to suppress his anger and not retaliate against Old Lady Tang. Before coming, his grandfather had repeatedly warned him not to cause trouble. Finding Siren and the treasure was the priority. Zhou Siming took a deep breath and angrily said to the commune official, "Is this how you arranged things? This must be settled before dark. Find me a clean and quiet place to stay." Of course. I'll arrange it right away." The commune official was also frightened. He couldn't afford to offend the leaders from the capital. But he also couldn't afford to offend Old Lady Tang, who came from a long line of poor farmers and had fought against the foreign devils, with a clear background and strong standing. Zhou Siming walked to the roadside with a dark expression, waiting for the commune official to arrange accommodation. Lu Kongri stood beside him, quietly explaining, "Director Zhou, my daughter was wronged. It was Tang Nian from this family who harmed her." Zhou Siming smirked sarcastically. Lu Jinglan being sent to the farm for labor reform could very well have been a setup, but if she ended up in a situation like that at the farm, it was her own fault. Old Lady Tang wasn't wrong. Lu Jinglan was indeed a shameless female thug, and the Lu family had serious issues with their family values. If he were to choose teammates, he would never pick Lu Kongri. Unfortunately, he didn't have the choice right now. Everything had to follow his grandfather's arrangements. Lu Kongri felt anxious and even began to resent his daughter Lu Jinglan. He had known she was not a promising child. Now she was dead and had brought shame to the Lu family. The Lu family had come this far with great difficulty, each step like walking on thin ice, fearing exposure. They had been safe until now, but this rebellious daughter had brought them disgrace. Fortunately, Tang village was far from the capital, and news was slow to spread, so it wouldn't reach the capital. They only told outsiders that Lu Jinglan had gone to the countryside to support rural development and had died in an accident while working. In the end, Lu Kongri and Zhou Siming were arranged to stay at the captain's house, which the commune official forced them into. Zhou Siming refused to stay at other people's homes, finding them dirty. Only the captain's house and Tang Nian's were the cleanest in the village. The captain felt more disgusted than swallowing a fly. He didn't want to earn that 3 yuan subsidy at all. His aunt was right. The father of someone like Lu Jinglan couldn't be a good person. "Leaders, my home is simple, and the food isn't great. I apologize for the inconvenience." The captain gave a preemptive warning. His food wasn't as good as the Tang family's, and he wouldn't specifically buy meat from town, so they would just eat what was available. No problem. Zhou Siming wasn't picky about food. He had brought an assistant, and if the food was really too bad, he would send the assistant to the commune to buy supplies. He couldn't let himself suffer. As the group walked away, Tang Nian emerged from behind the courtyard wall. The old glasses wearer, Lu Kongri, called that gloomy young man Director Zhou, and this Zhou had some resemblance to Zhou Siren. They came in a grand manner to find historical relics, shared the surname Zhou, and were connected to the Lu family. With these 3 points combined, the answer was clear. Tang Nian sneered. The Zhou family hadn't given up yet. Since these people were looking for treasure, she would prepare a big gift for the Zhou family. She would definitely make Zhou Siming stay in Tang village for a long time. Perhaps in a few hundred years, he could turn into a fossil, which would count as treasure too.
Bah.
You think you can buy me with money? I'm not the kind of person who is blinded by cash. A shameless old rogue can only raise a shameless daughter, a whole nest of them. Old Lady Tang shouted angrily at the direction Zhou Siming and the others had left. In truth, she was upset about losing 3 yuan and a pound of grain coupons each day. She looked down on the Liu family, but she certainly wouldn't refuse their money. What a pity.
Sigh.
Aunt, is that old man with glasses Liu Jiqing's father? What are they here for? A villager asked curiously. They're here to scout for a burial site for themselves. Old Lady Tang retorted angrily and went back inside. She was so furious that she needed a big glass of cold tea to cool down. I heard they came here looking for historical sites, a villager said loudly. What historical sites do we have? There were bandits before the liberation. The Japanese also came here, those darn Japanese. They cruelly cut a piece of meat from my pig while it was still alive. My parents returned from the mountains, and the pig was still alive. It took 3 days and nights to die. When the Japanese came, I was only 10. I had just cooked rice when I heard the news and had to run to the mountains without eating. When I came back 2 days later, the village was in ruins. The rice in my cooking pot was still there, but it was spoiled. Darn those Japanese, they will surely face retribution. Our mountains were better off. The city was worse, bombed every day, and we were locked in our houses while machine guns fired. Blood flowed like rivers. What a tragedy. The villagers' conversation took a turn, and they all began to curse the Japanese. Zhu Cheng had once fallen to them. The Japanese burned, killed, looted, and committed all sorts of atrocities. The local people despised them deeply. These things are true. I heard my grandmother talk about them. She experienced the war in her youth. The Japanese even defecated in cooking pots and slaughtered pigs, cows, and chickens. All of this is absolutely true. The villagers' chatter gradually faded. They were only interested in the people from the capital for a brief moment. Zhou Siming brought about 10 people and some surveying tools. Besides the team leader's house, a few other families were still occupied. After the commune officials settled in, they returned to the commune. The next day, Zhou Siming took his team to survey the mountains and found a guide from Tang village. They initially wanted Tang Jianshu to lead them, but he refused, saying he was too busy with factory work. In the end, a family from outside the village took the job for 1 yuan a day, guiding them around the mountains, and the villagers were envious. Zhou Siming and his team spent the whole day in the mountains without finding anything, but they weren't discouraged. If treasures were that easy to find, they wouldn't be called treasures. As night fell, Tang Nian took Fu Bao and Baisho up the mountain. She needed to prepare a grand gift for the group. Less than an hour later, she found the cave where the Tang family's treasure was hidden and discovered the entrance. The reason she couldn't find it last time was that the entrance was blocked by dense vines. Tang Nian cut through half of the vines with a knife, leaving the other half, revealing a moss-covered entrance that led to the treasure cave. She turned on her flashlight and entered. The cave was damp, with dripping water sounds. After about half an hour, she reached the treasure location. The entrance was blocked by a stone door, and beside it was a small hole the size of a finger. Tang Nian didn't know why, but she instinctively poked her right ring finger into it, and then she heard a click sound as the stone door slowly moved. Tang Nian found it strange. This mechanism was too simple. Any finger could fit in, making the stone door seem unnecessary. However, she quickly realized something was off. Only her ring finger could fit into the small hole, while the other fingers couldn't. Inside, there was a corresponding raised round block. Pressing it would close the stone door. After closing the stone door, Tang Nian took a stick and poked it into the small hole, pushing hard several times, but the stone door didn't budge, clearly not working just by poking. Could it be a fingerprint lock? Tang Nian was very curious. Did such advanced technology exist hundreds of years ago? And how could the ancestors from hundreds of years ago know her fingerprint? Also, that jade gourd. No one in the Tang family had ever been able to recognize it with blood. Only she could, clearly indicating it was not just about the Tang bloodline. There must be other secrets. Tang Nian tapped her head, feeling a headache coming on, and decided to stop thinking about it. She closed the stone door, which was left by her ancestors, and she couldn't bear to destroy it. She would find another place to set up, as there were many caves in the mountains. With Fubao leading the way, Tang Nian quickly found another hidden cave, winding and mysterious, perfect for hiding treasures, and the entrance was also covered with vines. Most importantly, this cave could only be entered, not exited. Once the entrance was sealed, no one could get out. She scattered a few small gems at the entrance, feeling a bit pained but knowing that you can't catch a wolf without giving up something. After finishing her setup, Tang Nian clapped her hands and led Baisho and Fubao down the mountain to sleep. She slept until noon and found Jujin playing at the foot of the mountain. She reminded the little girl, who nodded vigorously, indicating she would remember. Good girl. Tang Nian took out a pack of biscuits, shared them with the little girl and her friends, and then went back to sleep. Spring drowsiness, summer fatigue, winter slumber. Now that it was early summer, she should sleep more. Tang Nian yawned and slowly walked home. On the way, she ran into Zhou Siming and the others. When they crossed paths, she rolled her eyes at them. Tang girl, my brother Zhou's siren has gone missing in your brigade. Do you know where he is? Zhou Siming stopped her and asked directly. He had gone to the city in the morning, saying he had news about Siren, but it turned out to be false hope. Siren seemed to have vanished without a trace, and he thought Tang Nian might know where his brother was. Rather than beating around the bush, it was better to be straightforward. If Tang Nian really had any connection, she would surely slip up. Tang Nian opened her mouth wide, yawning and showing her teeth, her eyes watery. The legs are on your brother. He can go wherever he wants. How would I know? Tang Nian rolled her eyes and showed no kindness to Zhou Siming. The Zhou family was all the same, arrogant and disdainful of the common people. If one didn't know better, they might think they were royalty. Tang girl, my brother is infatuated with you. He wrote home saying you are the only person he wants to marry in this life. Siren loves you deeply and wouldn't just disappear without reason. I have a good relationship with him and am very worried. If you have any news, please let me know. Zhou Siming was very calculating. He didn't show any anger on his face and smiled slightly, but his words were more disgusting than dung. Tang Nian laughed instead of getting angry, mocking. Is everyone in your Zhou family so self-righteous? Zhou Siren liking me only shows how charming I am, loved by all, but I couldn't care less about him. Even if he died in front of me, I wouldn't blink. Move aside. Good dog doesn't block the way. Tang Nian pushed Zhou Siming aside, her tone sharp. Zhou Siming stumbled and nearly fell down the slope, saved only by Lu Kongri. With a dark expression, he watched Tang Nian descend the mountain, feeling puzzled by this woman. Director Zhou, should we send someone to capture her for questioning? Lu Kongri asked quietly. Not for now, let's head up the mountain. Zhou Siming shook his head. The treasure was more important than Zhou Siren. If it weren't for the old man's instructions to find Zhou Siren, he wouldn't waste time on this brother. Lu Kongri's eyes flickered. He had heard about the Zhou brothers' discord, and it seemed to be true. This young master, Zhou, probably wouldn't mind if his brother disappeared, right? Wow, this stone is so pretty. Where did you find it, Jiujin? A child's voice came from ahead. It was Tang Jiujin and her friends playing a stone-throwing game. They picked up 5 smooth stones, threw one up, and quickly grabbed another before it landed. They continued this until they had all 5, moving up level by level, with increasing difficulty. The village girls loved this game. Some even sewed small cloth bags to hold rice or sand, which made for softer, more comfortable play. But now, cloth and rice were precious, so families couldn't afford such extravagant toys and had to collect pebbles from the river instead. Jiujin, did you find your stones in the river? Someone asked loudly. No, I found them in the mountains. Tang Jiujin replied proudly, holding 5 stones. 2 were ordinary pebbles, and 3 were colorful gems. The children didn't recognize the gems. They just thought the 3 stones sparkled beautifully and envied her. Where did you find them, Jiujin? I want to go too. I want to go. I want to find colorful ones. The children chimed in. Over there on the mountain. The other day, while cutting pigweed, it suddenly rained, and I hid in the vines and saw them. Too bad there were only 3. I wanted to find 2 more red ones. Tang Jiujin pointed to the mountain and raised her gems. Under the bright sunlight, they shimmered with rainbow colors, looking especially beautiful. How pretty! Let's go collect stones. The children were captivated. These stones were even prettier than glass beads, and they wanted to find colorful stones to play with. That's all I found. I looked a few times and couldn't find any more, just these 3. Tang Jiujin shook her head, her little face filled with regret. No more? What a pity. The children also felt disappointed. But children's troubles come and go quickly. Soon they happily resumed their game, throwing the 3 beautiful gems along with the ordinary pebbles, having a great time. Zhou Ximing had already started up the mountain but was drawn back by the colorful light, walking over to the children. When he saw the gems being tossed around, his pupils instantly contracted. These were top-quality gems. He would never mistake them. Rubies, cat's eye stones, sapphires. Each one was exquisite. How could rural kids have such fine gems? Suppressing his excitement, Zhou Ximing maintained a calm exterior and smiled, asking, "What game are you playing, little friends?" "We're throwing stones," a child answered, while the others looked a bit shy. "Don't mind him. That old man is a pervert," my grandma said. Jiujin glared at Zhou Ximing, looking fierce and protective, pointing at Lu Kongri. The children immediately backed away, glaring at them. Lu Kongri's expression changed, his fists tightening. He really wanted to teach these kids a lesson. "I'm not like him. I'm here for work. Little friend, where did you find those beautiful stones? If you tell me, I'll give you some chocolate." Zhou Ximing smiled more kindly, pulling out a few imported chocolates, unwrapping them to let the sweet aroma waft out. The children couldn't help but swallow. Tang Jiujin gulped hard, staring at the chocolate, looking very tempted. Zhou Ximing felt smug. A rural girl would surely be unable to resist the lure of chocolate. "Just tell me, and I'll give you the chocolate." Tang Jiujin thought for a moment and said, "Then you need to bring more. This isn't enough to share."
Sure.
Zhou Ximing readily agreed, signaling to his assistant, who quickly ran down the mountain and soon returned with a bag of chocolate. "Here you go." Zhou Ximing handed all the chocolate to Tang Jiujin, about 20 pieces, which he had brought from the capital. He loved chocolate and ate a piece every day. Jiujin's eyes lit up as she took the chocolate and pointed up the mountain, saying, "Go up there. It takes about the time for a meal to walk there. There are lots of vines, and that's where I found them. Can you lead us there?" Zhou Ximing asked, confused. There were vines everywhere on the mountain, and according to her description, they would never find it. Tang Jiujin looked reluctant, but after glancing at the chocolate, she reluctantly agreed. "Okay, let's go." The little girl led the way, and Bai Sui and Fu Bao quickly followed. Zhou Ximing glanced at Fu Bao, his pupils contracting again. The white dog looked like a wolf. But seeing Fu Bao wagging its tail, he dismissed his doubts. Wolves didn't wag their tails and wouldn't be so friendly with people. This white dog was truly beautiful, even hard to find in the capital. "Is this white dog yours?" Zhou Ximing thought about taking the white dog back to present to the old man. Old Master Zhou loved dogs and had 2 wolfhounds at home. If he brought back this white dog, the old man would surely be delighted.
Yes.
Jiujin walked quickly, soon running far ahead. She stopped and called back, "Hurry up.
I still need to cut pigweed."
Zhou Ximing gritted his teeth and followed. His weak physique and lack of exercise made climbing the mountain difficult, and he was out of breath after just a few steps. He had wanted to ask if the white dog was for sale, but now he had no energy for it, gritting his teeth and trailing behind Jiujin, with the others following. After half an hour, Jiujin stopped, pointing to a vine-covered area, shouting, "This is where I found them." Zhou Ximing looked over. The vines were thick and sturdy, clearly aged. He had his men clear the vines, which took considerable effort, but they finally revealed a deep, dark hole. Inside, they found several shiny gems, just like the 3 in Tang Jiujin's hands. "This is it. It really is here." Lu Kongri exclaimed with joy. unable to contain himself. The Tang family's treasure was indeed on the back mountain of Tang village. This hole looked like a treasure spot, and the 3 gems the girl found were clearly washed out by water. In Jiangnan, spring rains were frequent, and over time, rainwater could wash gems out of the cave. Given how beautiful these gems were, one could only imagine how much treasure lay within the cave. Lu Kongri's eyes narrowed with greed. He was already fantasizing about the riches. Although the Zhou family would take the lion's share, surely he would get a cut too? They were going to get rich. The Lu family was finally going to prosper. Overcome with delight, Lu Kongri couldn't hide his excitement, while Zhou Siming shot him a cold glance, smirking in disdain. Dreaming in broad daylight, fool. All this treasure belonged to the Zhou family, and it would be his. He would surely be the next head of the Zhou family. Zhou Siming raised his leg to enter the cave, but was stopped by someone beside him. Young master, let me check the situation first. The team visiting Tang village for inspection had 10 people in total. Besides Lu Kongri, the others were from the Zhou family, tasked with protecting Zhou Siming. Old Master Zhou learned his lesson and didn't dare let Zhou Siming act alone again, so he specifically chose capable subordinates. Zhou Siming paused and stood aside, waiting for his men to scout ahead before he entered. The leading young man nodded, called over a companion, and they entered the cave with a flashlight. The rest waited at the entrance. After a short while, the 2 disappeared inside, and the sound of stones falling was heard. Zhou Siming clenched his fists, and his breathing quickened. This cave likely held the Tang family's treasure. It must be a vast fortune, enough to rival a nation. He had researched the Tang family's history, which had thrived for hundreds of years, accumulating wealth comparable to the Xin family of the Ming dynasty. Zhou Siming's normally indifferent and gloomy eyes grew brighter. He usually appeared indifferent to fame and fortune and led a simple life, but this was all a facade. He cared about wealth more than anyone. Once he became the head of the Zhou family, he could be himself again. Zhou Siming's expression remained calm, but inside, he was extremely excited. Beside him, Lu Kongri, who was not as shrewd, wore a face full of desire for wealth and fame, his lips curling up and his eyes shining. Both were lost in thoughts of great prospects, feeling very pleased. Half an hour later, the 2 who entered the cave came out, covered in dirt and looking quite disheveled. There's another cave inside, blocked by stones, but there's a gap. Those 3 gems must have come from there. As they reported the situation, Zhou Siming's eyes sparkled even more. The Tang family's treasure had been buried for at least 100 years. Over the years, it had endured wars and bombings, and maybe this cave had been blasted, blocking the entrance. Fortunately, the treasure was unharmed. Zhou Siming found perfect explanations for the gem's emergence and the blocked entrance, further believing that there was treasure inside the cave. Use explosives? Lu Kongri eagerly suggested. Fool, explosives make too much noise. Do you want to alert the whole Tang village? Zhou Siming glared disdainfully. How could his grandfather value such a fool who was more likely to ruin things than help? Lu Kongri chuckled awkwardly, not daring to suggest anything further. Go down the mountain to find tools to dig. Don't disturb the villagers. Zhou Siming gave the order. Since it was just rubble and there was a gap, they could dig it out manually. It wasn't a huge project. His subordinates nodded and headed down the mountain. It was lunchtime, and everyone had finished work and returned home to eat. The village was lively, filled with the sounds of cooking and children playing, creating a warm atmosphere. Tang Nian was lying in the yard, dozing off. Recently, she had been working on the sock machine at night and harvesting mature crops, leaving her exhausted. That old dog, Bai Sui, had finally won a bet, and now he was strutting around, refusing to harvest even a single stalk of wheat, insisting on sportsmanship. With no choice, Tang Nian had to do it herself. Even with machines, harvesting tens of thousands of acres of crops couldn't be done in a day. She worked diligently in the space every night, busier than a bee. Tang Nian yawned widely, tears streaming from the corners of her eyes. A gentle breeze brought the delicious smell of food. stir-fried eggs with chives, steamed meat with preserved vegetables. The names of the dishes danced in her mind, and her mouth watered. Since the sock factory opened, the village's food quality had skyrocketed, and she could smell the meat cooking every day.
I'm hungry.
Tang Nien Nien rubbed her belly, eagerly waiting for Grandma Tang to return. She was too lazy to cook and preferred ready-made meals. Second sister, Tang Jiujin, with her short legs, quickly ran back, whispering in Tang Nien Nien's ear. Those bad guys went up the mountain and borrowed a hoe from third uncle.
Got it. Don't tell anyone.
Tang Nien Nien took a coin from her pocket and stuffed it into the little girl's hand. I won't tell anyone. Jiujin shook her head vigorously, her eyes shining as she ran back to her room. She found a hole under the bed where she could hide her money. Only she and her second sister knew about this, and she wouldn't tell anyone. Otherwise, Grandma would take her money.
Tan Nian Nian Smai.
Once it involved money, the little girl would definitely keep quiet. Zhou Siming took the bait, great. There was no rush. After lunch, she would go up the mountain and bring a big gift to Old Man Zhou. How many grandsons did the Zhou family have? Tang Nian Nian remembered that Shen Xiao mentioned 4 or 5. 5 would be good. Zhou Siling was out of the picture, and Zhou Siren. Oh no!
She had forgotten about that jerk.
He should still be alive in the mental hospital, right? She would call Shen Xiao later to ask. Even if Zhou Siren was still alive, he had become useless. As for Zhou Siming, his time was running out. 3 were out, leaving only 1 or 2 grandsons. Old Man Zhou was quite generous, delivering his grandsons one after another for her to torment. Grandma Tang returned proudly, followed by 2 daughters-in-law, both radiant and full of energy, clearly well-fed. Grandma, I want to eat steamed meat with preserved vegetables. Tang Nian Nian, still lying down, lazily made her request. She didn't know whose family made the steamed meat with preserved vegetables, but it smelled so good. Do you want stir-fried bamboo shoots with meat? Grandma Tang shot her a glare and marched into the kitchen to cook. She had never seen a girl as lazy as her own, lying around like a boneless creature, able to stay in bed from morning till night. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't relieve herself in bed, she would probably eat, drink, and do everything else there without getting up all year. Bamboo shoots with meat isn't tasty. Grandma, I want steamed meat with preserved vegetables, and I also want dried bamboo shoots with meat and fried tofu stuffed with meat. Tang Nian Nian got up and followed her little grandmother, chattering like a priest chanting scriptures. Grandma Tang was increasingly annoyed and yelled, "You buy it yourself."
Oh.
Only then did Tang Nian Nian feel happy. Once she dealt with Zhou Siming, she would go to town to buy ingredients. Grandma Tang gritted her teeth, wanting to curse, but didn't know what to say. This lazy girl had been like this since she was little. They had scolded her for 17 years, and it hadn't helped. She was getting lazier instead. Forget it. She had found a good match. Let Xiao Xin deal with her. While cooking, Grandma Tang saw several people passing by with hoes and dustpans. They were Zhou Siming's group. Are they going to dig the mountain? Grandma Tang waved to Xianjinju, who was stoking the fire. The two of them leaned by the window, watching the group with furrowed brows. Are they digging a grave? Aren't ancient relics usually found in graves? Xianjinju had some knowledge. Her maternal family had a village nearby with an ancient tomb discovered by a cowherd. Many people came and dug up many jars, claiming it was the tomb of a prince from ancient times.
Bah.
Bad luck. Grandma Tang spat out the window, losing interest, and continued cooking. However, she secretly prayed, "Heaven, please open your eyes and let these bad things be buried in the grave, suffocating them." Recently, Heaven had been quite helpful, and Grandma Tang decided to entrust the task of punishing bad people to Heaven. After making her wish, Grandma Tang continued cooking, no longer paying attention to Zhou Siming and his group. After lunch, Grandma Tang and Xianjinju went to work, and Tang Manjin went to earn work points. Tang Mantong was hardly home, always on business trips, busier than the commune leader. Only Tang Nian Nian was left at home, and the little girl Jujin had gone out to play with her friends. Tang Nian Nian set out with her basket, deliberately walking slowly past a group of villagers working. "Nian, where are you going?" Someone called out. "To pick bamboo shoots. There are many on that mountain over there." Tang Nian pointed to a mountain far from where Zhou Siming and the others were. "That mountain does have a lot of bamboo shoots, but there are also many snakes. Be careful, Nian," someone kindly reminded her. With the hot weather, snakes and insects were coming out, and it was common to encounter them on the mountain. "If I see one, I'll catch it and make soup."
Tang Niani and Diplit et Persin.
She already had a stubborn snake in her space that she had tried to release several times, but it kept coming back. The villagers laughed, not thinking she was boasting. Rural girls are usually brave, and few are afraid of snakes and insects. During the famine, eating a snake was more joyful than anything else. Unfortunately, during the famine, there were no snakes or even insects to be found. Many likely starved to death. In front of the villagers, Tang Nian slowly walked away and climbed the mountain. However, once she reached the top, she took a shortcut to Zhou Siming's side. For an ordinary person, it would be impossible to climb over a cliff without falling. But Tang Nian managed it easily. About 10 minutes later, she arrived, hiding in the bushes. Zhou Siming and the others didn't notice her. Feeling bored, she squatted down. To her left was a cluster of green fruits from a plant, which hadn't turned blue yet. To her right was a plant with green fruits as well, which hadn't turned purple. When she was younger, she had used the fruits to dye her nails without any issues. Indeed, young humans seemed to have a protective period. Next to her right foot was a cluster of red clover, blooming with small red flowers. Tang Nian yawned, feeling extremely bored. She took out a small knife and dug up a few clovers, which looked like crystal radishes. She wiped them on her pants and popped one into her mouth. It was sweet and crunchy, quite nice. She also plucked some leaves from the plant, which were slightly less sour than the clovers. She preferred the blue fruits from the plant, which were sweet. The plant was also known as snake retreat grass, a childhood snack. The red clover was a type of three-leaf clover, which also had small yellow flowers. The roots looked like this. The plant with green fruits was toxic and quite potent. While nibbling on the grass, Tang Nian looked towards the cave entrance. The workers were busy, carrying stones one after another. These stones were ones she had purposely moved to block the entrance, using her space to transport them quickly. It was cloudy today, with no sun, and a few dark clouds were gathering in the sky. Zhou Siming looked up, frowning. "Move faster. It's going to rain." Zhou Siming shouted, then coldly told Lu Kongri, who was standing still, "You go work too." He was both foolish and lazy, always complaining. Lu Kongri was stunned, looking at Zhou Siming in disbelief, thinking he was joking. But seeing Zhou's cold, disdainful expression, he realized he wasn't joking. I've never done this kind of work." Lu Kongri was unwilling. He had never done such rough work in his life. Although the Lu family wasn't a wealthy household, he had grown up in comfort. Even during the war, he had never suffered. In fact, the hardest times in his life had been after liberation. But he had never done this kind of rough work. It was for lower-class people. How could the young master of the Lu family do the work of the lower class? "Are you saying I should do it instead?" Zhou Siming mocked, truly thinking too highly of himself. Lu Kongri gritted his teeth. When he lowered his head, his eyes were filled with resentment. But he quickly raised his head and forced a smile. "Of course, I can't let young Master Zhou do it. I'll go right now." Once he got the chance to rise with the Zhou family, he would make sure Zhou Siming knew his worth. It was just luck. What was he so proud of in front of him? Lu Kongri reluctantly entered the cave to work. Unfortunately, he had been pampered since childhood and had never endured such hardship. He couldn't even carry half a load of stones, stumbling as he walked. After finally getting some out, he tripped at the cave entrance, breaking his glasses. Zhou Siming frowned. What a useless person. Lu Kongri picked up his glasses, but one lens was broken, the one for his stronger left eye. With only one lens, everything looked blurry, and he nearly fell again after a few steps. Zhou Siming coldly watched him stumble, his expression indifferent and contemptuous, not stopping him. Lu Kongri waited a long time without hearing Zhou Siming speak. His hatred peaked, but he didn't show it on his face and obediently continued to carry stones. He would endure. There would be a time for revenge.
Boom.
A thunderclap sounded just as Lu Kongri stepped out of the cave, startling him and nearly causing him to fall. How much longer? Zhou Siming asked coldly. About 10 minutes. His subordinate replied. Zhou Siming relaxed his frown. At that moment, a few raindrops fell from the sky, hitting his face. Young master, you should go inside to avoid the rain, one subordinate called out. Zhou Siming nodded and entered the cave. The cave wasn't wide and was very humid. The mud on the ground was mushy. Zhou Siming found a slightly cleaner spot to stand.
Boom.
The thunder grew louder, and heavy raindrops began to fall. Zhou Siming's subordinates worked in the rain, and after about 10 minutes, they finally finished moving all the stones. Let's go. Zhou Siming couldn't hide his excitement, his tone rising. Even the muddy ground looked good to him as he led all his subordinates into the cave, with Lu Kongri at the back. Tang Mianyan emerged from the bushes, still chewing on a stem of grass. She wiped the rain off her face and lightly climbed to the top of the cave, standing right where she had cracked it open with her hammer yesterday.
Boom.
A thick bolt of lightning suddenly split the sky in two, followed by a loud thunderclap and a torrential downpour. Tang Mianyan smiled. The heavens were really on her side. She took out a big hammer from her space, gathered her energy, and smashed down. The loud impact was drowned out by the thunder as she struck 3 times.
Boom.
The ground where she stood collapsed, and she quickly stepped back, continuing to strike. The repeated hammering, accompanied by thunder, was swift. Zhou Siming and the others inside the cave hadn't reacted before the stones blocked their exit. Tang Mianyan paused, calculating the distance of the collapse. About 15 meters should be enough to bury them. Zhou Siming and his team hadn't brought their tools inside. They were all left outside. Even if they had knives, they wouldn't be able to dig out quickly. There was water inside, but no food. They could last at most 10 days. Tang Mianyan jumped down, collected all the tools at the cave entrance into her space, and wiped away any footprints and traces before climbing down the cliff and running home in the rain. When she got home, she was soaked, and after sneezing, she hurried to boil water for a bath. The rain continued until dark, never stopping, just lightening up a bit. After her bath, Tang Mianyan sat by the stove, claiming to help Grandma Tang with the fire, but really wanting to roast sweet potatoes. She tossed a few sweet potatoes and potatoes into the fire, occasionally checking to see if they were cooked. Sweet potatoes and potatoes cooked over an open flame were especially fragrant, leaving her lips black after eating. Make the fire stronger. Grandma Tang was stir-frying vegetables and reminded her to keep the fire up. But after a while, the fire was getting weaker, barely alive. When she went over to check, she saw Tang Mianyan poking around in the stove, having let the good fire die down. It's almost time for dinner, and you're still roasting potatoes. You've ruined the fire. Go away. Grandma Tang was furious. She raised her hand and lightly patted Tang Mianyan on the head a few times, then grabbed her collar and pulled her aside, giving her a fierce glare. I've never seen a girl as greedy and lazy as her. If she didn't have a clever mind, she would have starved by now. Grandma, my sweet potatoes and potatoes. Tang Mianyan was thinking about her food and shouted even after being pulled by her collar. She hadn't eaten yet. Do you want to eat the firewood cake? Go away. Grandma Tang frowned and scolded, but still moved Tang Mianyan's sweet potatoes and potatoes to the side of the stove, added some firewood, and pumped the bellows to stoke the fire. Zhenju, come and tend the fire. Grandma Tang called out for Zhenju to help with the fire, knowing they wouldn't get hot food until midnight. Xian Zhenju was washing clothes in the yard. Hearing this, she wiped her hands and hurried inside. Second aunt, don't forget to roast my sweet potatoes and potatoes. Tang Mianyan leaned over to remind her, craving that bite so much it was driving her crazy. I know. Xianjinju couldn't help but smile, remembering how Tang Nian Nian was just like this when she was little. When she first got married, Tang Nian Nian was only 3 or 4 years old, a beautiful little dumpling. She would come over while Jinju was tending the fire, holding a sweet potato and a potato in her hands, and sweetly ask, "Second aunt, can you roast them for me?" Thinking of the past, Xian Jinju gently patted Tang Nian Nian's head. Time flies. That little dumpling has grown up so fast, earning 98 yuan a month and even starting a sock factory. Xian Jinju was excellent at tending the fire, and the two of them worked well together, quickly preparing a meal. The sweet potatoes and potatoes were also roasted, their skins blackened like charcoal. But don't be fooled by their ugly appearance. When you peel off the blackened skin, the inside is golden and steaming, smelling delicious, 1,000 times better than what you'd buy on the street.
Jiu Jin.
Tang Nianyan called for the little girl to share the food.
Coming.
Tang Jiujin ran over, her eyes sparkling at the sight of the roasted sweet potatoes and potatoes. The sisters squatted by the stove, each holding one, blowing on them while eating. "So good, second sister. Let's roast corn next time. Let's roast it tomorrow." Tang Nian eagerly agreed. Roasted corn is also delicious. Grandma Tang came in with dishes and overheard their conversation, feeling both amused and annoyed. She scolded, "All you think about is eating. Hurry up and wash your hands for dinner." "Grandma, here's for you." Tang Nian still had half a roasted sweet potato left, which she had broken off and hadn't eaten yet. She didn't like eating things others had touched, nor did she share what she had eaten, except with Xin Xiao. "I don't want it, but it's quite sweet." Grandma Tang said she didn't want it, but once it was in her mouth, she couldn't help but chew. The sweet potato had been stored all winter, dried out, and roasted. It was as sweet as honey. Delicious, right? Tang Nian grinned slyly. Grandma always said she didn't want this or that, but she enjoyed eating more than anyone. Grandma Tang shot her a glare, finished the sweet potato in a few bites, and hurried to get hot water for the two girls to wash their faces. Their mouths were blacker than charcoal. "I'll wash myself." Tang Nian dodged Grandma's eager hands. She didn't want to be scrubbed again. She'd let Jiujin have that honor.
Ouch.
Tang Jiujin couldn't escape. Her little face turned red from Grandma's rough handling. After washing, Grandma even pinched her cheeks to check the results. Tang Nian quickly finished washing and ran off to eat. Outside, the sound of rain pattered, and on the table, steaming dishes awaited. The Tang family sat together, chatting and laughing, creating a warm atmosphere. Just as they were halfway through their meal, hurried footsteps and voices were heard outside. "Zhang Lao, weren't you supposed to guide Director Zhou and the others? How did you lose them?" The team leader shouted angrily. "Director Zhou didn't let me follow. He said to take a break today." Zhang Lao sounded very wronged. He had lost a day's earnings. "Has anyone seen them?" The team leader's voice was hoarse. These people from the capital had gone missing in his village. This was a serious matter. How could a small team leader like him handle it? He prayed that these people wouldn't die on his watch. "Just stay alive." "I didn't see them. I was working in the fields. I was at the factory. Who cares where they went? They might be hiding from the rain on the mountain. They'll come back when it stops." The villagers chattered, not worried. There were no wolves on the mountain and no large wild animals. Those people would be fine. The team leader thought about it too. The wolves had gone deep into the mountains, and wild boars wouldn't come out in the rain. They were definitely hiding from the rain. "What's going on?" Grandma Tang came out holding a bowl to ask. "The people from the capital still haven't returned." Someone replied. It was already dark, and usually, Zhou Siming and the others would have returned to rest by this time. "It's raining. They must be hiding from the rain on the mountain. What could happen?" Grandma Tang dismissed the concern, thinking the team leader was overreacting. "I think so too. The team leader is very anxious and insists on dragging us to find them," a villager said, clearly expressing his dissatisfaction. The team leader glared at him. He wasn't afraid. By seniority, he was still the team leader's uncle, so why be scared? "Team leader, let's wait until the rain stops to look for them. If they get wet and fall sick, will the capital officials pay us? A villager asked. On rainy days, they didn't want to go up the mountain. They just wanted to lie at home. Although the officials from the capital seemed impressive, they didn't pay them, so they weren't going to risk getting sick by going up the mountain. If they're on the mountain, they won't get lost. Let's sit inside for a while. It looks like the rain will stop soon, Grandma Tang added. The team leader hesitated, but agreed. He didn't want to go up the mountain either. Even though he wore a raincoat, it couldn't keep his pants and shoes dry. He felt very uncomfortable. A group of people went inside, and Xian Jinju and Su Jinfeng went to get chairs and make them hot tea. Team leader, didn't those people from the capital take shovels and dustpans up the mountain? Did they find something?
Someone asked.
Is there really an ancient site on the mountain? It wouldn't be a grave, would it? Definitely a grave. Maybe it's some prince's tomb. Those people are really bold, daring to dig up graves. Don't they fear bad luck? People from the capital are blessed. Bad luck doesn't affect them. The villagers enthusiastically chatted, not interested in the so-called ancient site. Even if it was a prince's tomb, it had nothing to do with them. They wouldn't benefit from it. They were more concerned about the harvest and the sock factory's profits.
Zhong.
The clock quickly chimed once. It was already 7:30 p.m., and the rain had stopped. Zhou Siming and the others still hadn't returned, and the team leader, who was starting to calm down, became anxious again. Let's go up the mountain and see if something really happened. The captain strode out, holding a weak flashlight that barely illuminated the path ahead. Third uncle, take this. Tang Nian brought out a bright flashlight from the house. Take these torches with you. The stove was cooking pig feed, and there was fire in the hearth. Grandma Tang made a few simple torches, and even splurged a bit by adding some kerosene for extra brightness. The captain led a few people up the mountain, and in the distance, tiny lights moved upward. Grandma Tang suppressed her rising smile and went to wash the dishes in the kitchen, praying, "Heavenly God, please do something about these bad things. It would be best if they were struck down." They still hadn't returned. Maybe they really were struck by lightning. An hour later, the captain and the others returned, soaked and looking grim. They searched most of the mountain, but didn't find Zhou Siming and the others. A heavy rain had washed away all footprints, leaving no clues. I need to call the commune to report this. Something serious has happened, the captain said darkly, stepping carefully to make the call. Could they have been taken by wolves? A villager whispered. Impossible. Those people are skilled fighters, there are 7 or 8 of them, and I saw them with guns. One villager spoke even quieter, gesturing with his hands. Zhou Siming had 2 subordinates staying at his house, and he had seen them by chance, which made him break out in a cold sweat. What are these people really up to? Why are they bringing guns to investigate historical sites? Who knows? Sho, let's not meddle in their affairs. Time to sleep. We have work to do tomorrow. After some discussion, the villagers returned home. They weren't the captain and didn't need to worry about these problems. Once they left, Grandma Tang closed the door, unable to hide her smile. It seemed likely that those bad things had encountered trouble. Heavenly spirits, please don't let them come back whole. Grandma Tang silently prayed, and after returning to her room, she bowed a few times toward the sky, very sincerely. That night, Tang Village was particularly lively, with no quiet moments. Not only did the commune send people, but the county also dispatched officials from the police, armed forces, and other departments to gather at the back mountain of Tang Village to search for people. Wei Zhongcheng was also there, having been pulled from his wife's warm embrace by a phone call from the director. He was furious to learn they were looking for Zhou's eldest son, which only made him angrier. Why should he care if the Zhou family went to the mountain and got into trouble? But the Zhou family was in a tough spot. They had lost Zhou Siling, Zhou Siren was still missing, and Zhou Qiming had also disappeared. The Zhou family had only a few grandsons left, and they had lost more than half. When Wei Zhongqing heard from the director that they had gone missing in Tang Village, his first thought was of Tang Nian. He was at least 80% sure that Zhou Qiming's disappearance was related to this girl. But why should he care? He was just an ordinary police officer, responsible for investigating cases, not for the higher-ups' nonsense. The villagers in Tang Village didn't sleep well that night. There were footsteps and voices outside, making it noisy. When dawn broke, the rain stopped, and the entire Tang Village was shrouded in mist, resembling an ink wash painting. The ground was covered in messy footprints. The captain had spent most of the night on the mountain with Wei Zhongqing. His eyes were dark, and he kept yawning, feeling exhausted. Captain Tang, please gather the villagers. I need to question them one by one, Wei Zhongqing said politely. Okay, I'll announce it over the loudspeaker. The captain agreed and hurried to make the announcement. Hello, hello. After hearing this broadcast, everyone, young and old, except those who can't get up, please go to the village committee office and line up. The police have questions for you. The captain repeated the announcement 3 times, and the whole village heard it. The villagers were in an uproar. Why do they want to ask questions again? Did something happen in the village? It seems like those people from the capital are missing. Their disappearance has nothing to do with us. Do we get work points for answering questions? Reluctantly, the villagers went to the village committee office, standing in several rows, chatting casually. Wei Zhongqing was the temporary leader of the search team. He arranged 3 groups to ask questions, all about the same thing. I didn't see them. I was working in the fields yesterday. I don't know where they went. I work at the sock factory. I didn't see them. Don't they go to the mountain every day? I heard they borrowed a hoe and a dustpan from the captain. Are they digging graves? Sir, it has nothing to do with me. My family has been poor for 8 generations, completely innocent. Although the villagers' responses varied, they all meant the same thing. They hadn't seen Zhou Siming and the others. It was indeed strange. Usually, there would be people on the mountain, either chopping wood or gathering bamboo shoots or collecting pig grass, but yesterday there was not a single person. And with the rain, the villagers were even less likely to go up the mountain. They truly didn't know where Zhou Siming and the others had gone. However, there was one piece of information they got from the children. An uncle asked where the pretty stones came from, and Jiu Jin said she found them on the mountain. That uncle gave her a lot of candy and asked Jiu Jin to lead the way, a child said. Jiu Jin took them to where they found the stones, and then we played hide and seek. But when it started to rain, we went home. The candy the uncle gave was really delicious. Jiu Jin shared it with us. The pretty stones were so beautiful, but they fell, and we couldn't find them. The children who played with Tang Jiu Jin all mentioned the pretty stones and how she led them. But the stones were lost. When it rained, they ran down the mountain to avoid it, and Jiu Jin's pocket had a hole, so the stones slipped out. They only realized it when they got home, and they couldn't find them when they went back, either having fallen into a ditch or been picked up by someone else. Wei Zhongqing and the others found Tang Jiu Jin. The little girl was brave and unafraid, looking at them confidently. The uncle said the candy was called chocolate, and it was really good. I took them to where we found the stones, but they fell, and we couldn't find them. The little girl's thoughts were all over the place, jumping from one thing to another. Wei Zhongqing listened patiently, but others were less patient, their tone becoming annoyed as they shouted, "Where did you take Director Zhou? Take us there now. Be nicer to the child." Wei Zhongqing frowned. The one shouting wasn't from the police, but from another department, acting tough. Tang Jiu Jin also frowned, hands on her hips, and shouted back, "Why are you yelling at me? My parents don't yell at me. I didn't ask them for the chocolate. They gave it to me. I won't take you there. Who do you think you are?" The questioning was happening in a small room, and everyone outside could hear. Grandma Tang was chatting with someone when she heard her granddaughters shout, and immediately turned serious, rushing over. Su Jinfeng, Tang Manjin, and Xian Jinju followed her. Tang Nian happened to be in the bathroom and didn't hear anything. "Do you still have any shame? So many adults bullying my little child. You're worse than the landlords." "I'm not afraid of the Japanese, come at me. My husband killed Japanese soldiers back in the day, so come on, what kind of skill is it to bully my granddaughter?" Old Lady Tang kicked open the door. Though small in stature, her presence was formidable. She pulled Tang Jujin behind her and began to rage. "Jujin, who bullied you?" Su Jinfeng rushed over, checking her daughter from head to toe. She only had 2 daughters now and needed to protect them well. They were fierce with me and glared at me. Tang Jujin pointed at the man who had just shouted, puffing out her cheeks in complaint. The man was in his 30s, thin and short, not very good-looking, even a bit ugly. He was from the tail-cutting society and was used to showing off his power. He was furious and ready to shout back. But old lady Tang didn't give him a chance. She stepped forward, pointing a finger at his nose, and yelled, "What do you think you are? Look at you. You're nothing but skin and bones. You have no right to bully my granddaughter. What has she done wrong? We are all honest poor farmers. When my husband was fighting the Japanese, you were still in your mother's womb."
You. How dare you?
"I'm the deputy director of the tail-cutting society. Just wait." The thin man was so angry, he felt like he might explode. He had never been humiliated like this before. This old woman was infuriating. "I don't care if you're the rich director or the poor director. Bullying my granddaughter makes you a bandit. Who do you think you are coming to our Tang village to act tough? Ask your mother how much courage she gave you when she had you." Old lady Tang didn't care about titles. In Tang village, she was the boss, not afraid of anyone. She stepped closer, ready to grab the thin man by his collar and slap him a few times. The thin man shouted angrily, "Are you all dead? Why aren't you taking this old woman down?" The others didn't move. They weren't from the same group, so it wasn't their problem. Only a few from the tail-cutting society moved to grab old lady Tang. "Who dares to touch my mom?"
Tummanyin grebdahu.
Even a good person can be scary when angry. Su Jinfeng shouted outside, "City people are hitting my mom. They're unreasonable and violent." The villagers chatting outside heard this and rushed in, furious that anyone dared to fight on their turf, filling the small room to capacity. "Why are you hitting people? Do city folks think they're so great? Even hitting an old lady, are you still human?" The villagers protected old lady Tang, glaring at the outsiders. The Tang family in Tang village was known for their unity. They might have small disagreements among themselves, but they stood together against outsiders, even helping those they had argued with just yesterday. "You're out of control. Do you want to be sent to the farm for re-education?" The deputy director yelled, trembling. "What right do you have to send us anywhere? What law have we broken? Just because you're a director doesn't mean you're a king. Stop talking nonsense with them. Drag them out." The villagers didn't take this threat seriously and moved to drag the deputy director away. When Tang Nianyan returned from the bathroom, she saw the monkey-like man being dragged out by the villagers, with her grandmother kicking him a few times and Su Jinfeng joining in. "What's going on? Just wait for me." The deputy director shouted angrily, determined to show these village bandits a lesson. The villagers ignored him. There were hundreds of them in Tang village. If he had the guts, he could try to arrest them all. The team leader had disappeared, and the embarrassed deputy director went to the team leader's house but found no one. He had to leave, defeated, taking his subordinates back to the city. He was afraid to stay longer, fearing he might get beaten. These village bandits were ruthless. On the way back, the deputy director kept rubbing his backside, cursing whoever kept kicking him. With the tail-cutting society losing its power, order was restored. Wei Zhongcheng politely asked Tang Jujin to lead the way. "All right, if that monkey uncle had asked me nicely, I would have taken him." Tang Jujin acted like an adult, even giving the deputy director a nickname. Wei Zhongcheng couldn't help but smile. He didn't get along with this deputy director and had often clashed with him. During the commotion, he had hidden with his colleagues, enjoying the show. The team leader reappeared, yawning and looking tired. He pretended to sweep the room and asked, "Where's Director Zhu?" The deputy director's last name was Zhu. He went back to the city. Someone answered briefly. The team leader didn't ask more questions and yawned again, not knowing anything. Tang Jujin led Wei Zhongcheng and the others up the mountain. They wandered around halfway up, scratching their heads and talking to themselves. "I think it's here. No, there's a tree here. Where did it go?" After an hour of wandering, Tang Jujin finally pointed to a cave and said, "It's right here." This cave was still a mile away from Zhou Siming and the others. Moreover, The cave where Zhou Siming and his group had collapsed was covered with vines, making it hard to find. The cave Jujin pointed to was also overgrown with vines. The team leader called the villagers to clear the vines, revealing a deep entrance. Are they inside? Should we call out and see if they respond? One villager whispered. Wei Zhongqing frowned. The cave looked deserted, and there were no signs of anyone entering. Either the little girl had led them to the wrong place, or Zhou Siming and his group had gone to another cave. Team leader Tang, how many caves are there on the mountain? There are many caves, too many to count, the team leader replied honestly. Wei Zhongqing frowned. This was a problem. The mountain was so big that searching cave by cave would take forever. Besides, if Zhou Siming and his group were indeed trapped in a cave, they wouldn't last long. Luckily, there should be water in the cave, allowing them to hold out for a few more days. Comrade Wei, the Zhou officials borrowed tools to dig graves. Should we look in the burial mounds? The team leader suggested. He thought Zhou Siming and his group were digging graves on the mountain. Wei Zhongqing shook his head. He didn't believe Zhou Siming was really there to study historical sites. If he guessed correctly, they were looking for treasure. Zhou Siming had seen the gem Tang Jujin picked up by chance and used chocolate to lure the little girl to lead the way, then borrowed a hoe, clearly for treasure hunting. Moreover, the Zhou family had been unscrupulous in accumulating wealth over the years. He Jisheng had helped them gather a lot, and many bosses in Zhuqing had suffered because of this scoundrel, losing their properties to the Zhou family. Wei Zhongqing looked up at the sky, noticing a few small clouds, and said loudly, "It's going to rain. Let's head down to avoid it." Everyone obediently hurried down the mountain. They didn't want to work for the Zhou family. The group quickly left, passing by the cave where Zhou Siming and his group were trapped. In the dark cave, Zhou Siming leaned against the wall, licking his lips. His throat felt dry. They had rushed into the cave without bringing anything and had been trapped for a day and a night without food or water. He was about to give up. "Young master, drink some water." A subordinate filled a water bottle with water from the cave, letting it settle before offering it to Zhou Siming. "I won't drink it. It smells too earthy." Zhou Siming refused, unable to drink such dirty water. The strong earthy smell made him feel nauseous just by smelling it. Since last night, he hadn't had a drop of water. His lips were chapped, and his throat felt like it was on fire, but he still couldn't bring himself to drink that dirty water. Zhou Siming believed he wasn't at the end of his rope. After all, he was the eldest son of the Zhou family, and his grandfather held a high position. Before coming to Zhucheng, he had already made connections with influential people here. Since he had been missing for a night, those people would surely send someone to look for him. They should find him soon, right? Holding on to this belief, Zhou Siming endured, refusing to drink the dirty water. The water was collected from a muddy pit dug by his subordinates, who had trampled around in the dirt. How could he possibly drink that? "You all drink. I'm fine." Zhou Siming swallowed hard, his mouth feeling parched. "Young master, if you don't drink water, you won't last. We don't know when help will arrive. You need to conserve your strength," one subordinate urged. In truth, the subordinates were growing impatient. They had come at the order of old Master Zhou, and they had never dealt with Zhou Siming before. They only knew he had a reputation for being cultured, humble, and simple. Before coming, they had thought Zhou Siming would be easy to get along with, making their task simple. But after a few days, they realized that his reputation was misleading. Forget about being cultured and humble. Zhou Siming was arrogant, indulgent, and looked down on rural people, just like Zhou Silang and Zhou Siren. Though they were annoyed with Zhou Siming, the subordinates still took care of him. If anything happened to this young master, they wouldn't be able to report back. The incident had happened so suddenly that they were unprepared. There were 8 of them with only 1 bottle of water and a small pack of biscuits brought by Lu Kongri, with nothing else left. But there was water in the cave, which could last them for about 10 days, so the subordinates weren't too discouraged. "I'll drink a little." Worried about collapsing, Zhou Siming compromised and took a sip from the bottle. The earthy taste flooded his mouth, irritating his sensitive nerves.
Ugh.
Zhou Siming covered his mouth, gagging several times. only managing to spit out the water he had just drunk. His stomach churned, but he couldn't vomit anything else. The subordinate frowned. In the dark cave, he didn't need to hide his feelings, and his face showed disgust and disdain. If it weren't for the old leader's reputation, he wouldn't care about this spoiled young master at all. I won't drink anymore. Take it away. Zhou Siming pressed his mouth shut. He really couldn't drink it. He had never suffered like this before. Even during the famine years over a decade ago, he never went without food and could still enjoy chocolate and apples from time to time. The subordinate stopped bothering him and returned to his companions with the water bottle. They shared the water among themselves, and Lu Kongri's small pack of biscuits was also pooled together, with Zhou Siming only getting a small piece. Gurgle. Someone's stomach growled loudly in the darkness. Lu Kongri pressed his stomach and weakly said, "Why hasn't anyone come to rescue us? If they don't hurry, I'm going to starve." Since yesterday, he had only eaten one biscuit, not even enough to fill the gaps in his teeth. That pack of biscuits was supposed to be his. These people were worse than robbers. Lu Kongri dared not voice his anger, burying it deep inside. When his Lu family rose again, he would settle the score. It seems like there's some noise outside, but then it stopped. Someone pressed against the cave wall, trying to listen for sounds outside, but the distance from the collapse was too great to hear much. Let's start digging. The leading subordinate stood up. They couldn't just sit and wait. They had to find a way to save themselves. The air in the cave was relatively fresh, indicating it wasn't completely sealed. If they dug slowly, they could get out, and surely people outside were looking for them. Maybe they could coordinate their efforts. Lu Kongri was called to help dig, except for Zhou Siming. All the tools from yesterday were left outside the cave, and there was nothing inside, only the daggers on the subordinates. They pried at the rock slowly, making little progress. Lu Kongri had no proper tools and could only use his hands. Before long, his fingers were bleeding, and the pain made him want to curse. But he didn't dare. They hadn't found the treasure, and he might lose his life. Whether he could survive was uncertain. What terrible luck! How did those 3 gems appear at the cave entrance, if there's nothing in this cave? Lu Kongri suddenly thought of a question. They had entered the cave before the collapse, and inside there were only stones. No treasure at all. Where did the little girl find the gems? Maybe they fell from a hole above. The treasure must be on this mountain. To this day, Zhou Siming still firmly believed that there was definitely treasure on this mountain, and it was near this cave. Lu Kongri scoffed, his belief wavering. Compared to treasure, he just wanted to survive. No amount of treasure was worth anything if he didn't live to enjoy it. I'm not digging anymore. My hands feel like they're going to break.
Ouch.
It hurts so much. Lu Kongri sat down, feeling hungry, tired, and in pain. He couldn't take it anymore.
Get up.
The leading subordinate kicked him, without mercy. They were polite to Zhou Siming but showed no respect to someone like Lu Kongri, who was just a fence-sitter. The kick was hard, and Lu Kongri howled in pain, finally realizing his situation. Out of 10 people, he was the only outsider. With no food if they couldn't get out, as the outsider, he was likely. Lu Kongri shivered, his heart sinking. He got up to work obediently, not daring to complain anymore. Time passed, and night fell again outside. Wei Zhongcheng and the others searched the area around the cave, but found nothing and returned to the cave entrance. How could this cave collapse? Someone stood at the top of the cave, trying to figure out the cause of the collapse. Report, leader. It thundered loudly yesterday, and the lightning was thick enough to split the sky in half. The sound of the thunder was so loud it could scare your soul away. Maybe the collapse was caused by the lightning. The captain reported the weather conditions from yesterday and shared his thoughts. In truth, he wanted to say it was likely that Zhou Siming and his group had done something wrong to attract the lightning. Otherwise, why did the lightning strike when they went up the mountain? Let's call it a day. We'll search again tomorrow. Wei Zhongcheng looked up at the sky. The moon was already out, so he signaled for everyone to head down. It was dark and slippery, and working the night shift was too dangerous. He didn't want to risk his safety for a so-called young master of the Zhou family. Captain Wei, aren't we going to search for them? Someone objected, sounding dissatisfied. It's already dark. How can we search? There are snakes and insects on the mountain, including venomous snakes. Who will take responsibility if someone gets bitten? Wei Zhongcheng retorted. He didn't mind others flattering him, but he wouldn't let anyone restrict his freedom to leave work. The captain quickly said, "The leader is right. It's hot now, and the poisonous snakes are out on the mountain. There are 5-step snakes and silver ring snakes. A bite could cost you your life." One of our young men got bitten while chopping wood on the mountain. His leg was ruined, and he can barely see now. The poison is very strong. He intentionally made it sound serious because he really didn't want to search for people on the mountain at night. He was exhausted and just wanted to go home and sleep. As for the lives of Zhou Siming and the others, the captain didn't care at all. They weren't his sons. If they died, so be it. He had already reported to the commune, so he had no responsibility. Are there really poisonous snakes? Someone doubted. They had been on the mountain all day and hadn't seen a single snake. Was Captain Tang just trying to scare them? Leader, it's absolutely true. There are plenty of poisonous snakes in the mountains. One wrong move and you could get bitten. I have no benefit in lying to you. The captain suppressed the urge to roll his eyes and spoke harshly. What is that? Someone shouted in fear. Everyone turned to look in the direction the person was pointing, and they were instantly horrified, their scalps tingling. The cave entrance and the top were crawling with snakes of all sizes, raising their heads and hissing with their red tongues. Some were over 2 meters long, as thick as a child's arm, and others about 1 meter long, bright green, with some having beautiful silver rings on their bodies. These snakes were coiled up or hanging halfway from the trees, in various positions, but one thing was the same. Their heads were all facing them, with cold, slit pupils and menacing tongues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my! There were at least 100 snakes, and they all had triangular heads. How could so many poisonous snakes suddenly appear here?
Don't
move. The snakes are moving. I'm not moving. The captain's voice trembled, and his legs shook, but he still remembered his duty and urgently reminded the city folks not to provoke the snakes. Oh my! Tang Manshan had lived for half his life and had never seen so many snakes. Did Zhou Siming and those fools disturb the snake's nest? Some people had already lifted their legs to escape down the mountain, but when the captain said that, they immediately froze in a comical pose, one leg raised and stiff in the air while the other leg stood still. They didn't dare to move, fearing that if they did, the 100 snakes would attack. Their small bodies would surely be a snack for those snakes.
What?
What do we do? After standing for a while, someone couldn't take it anymore. The golden chicken standing pose was making their feet sore. I don't know. The captain was sweating profusely, panicking. He had no idea what to do. He was at a loss. At that moment, the captain missed his dear second uncle, Tang Qingshan, very much. If he were here, he would surely have a solution. Let's set them on fire. A young man from the tail-cutting group, full of anger, said, "It's just a bunch of snakes. What's there to fear? Pour a bucket of gasoline, set a fire, and burn them all. Try burning one, and I'll kill you first." The captain immediately calmed down, his legs steady, glaring at the man. During the famine years, the back mountain had fed the people of Tang Village and their ancestors. This mountain was their lifeline, their support. Anyone who dared to disrespect it would have to face him. The captain had always appeared honest and straightforward, but this was the first time he showed such a fierce expression, and everyone was intimidated. Moreover, others had a natural fear of snakes. Killing one snake was one thing, but this was over 100 snakes. They had all heard legends of snakes taking revenge on humans. What if it was true? The thought of being targeted by a group of poisonous snakes made their scalps tingle. I'll say this up front. I can help you find people, but if anyone dares to mess around on this mountain, don't blame me for being ruthless. The captain's face was stern, and his tone was harsh as he warned them. He had made up his mind to stick with these people, not leaving their side. If they really did something bad to the mountain, he wouldn't be able to face his ancestors. Don't worry, Captain Tang. We won't do anything. Protecting the natural environment is everyone's responsibility, Wei Zhongcheng assured him. He had dealt with many strange cases over the years. Some things couldn't be explained by science. They were just too mysterious. Especially with snakes, which had a certain spirit. It was best not to provoke them. Let's go down the mountain first. We'll look for people when it gets light. With so many poisonous snakes here, there shouldn't be anyone in the cave, Wei Zhongqing said. Exactly, let's go down. Everyone echoed in unison, eager to leave this eerie place without wasting another second. 10 minutes later, the group had descended the mountain, and the area outside the cave returned to silence. Tang Nian crawled out from the bushes, took a basin of water from her space, and added 3 drops of spiritual spring water. Let them come and drink. The little snake that had been stubbornly hanging around her space slithered over to the group of snakes, hissing a few times. The snakes understood and crawled over in an orderly fashion. A group of slippery creatures, at least 100. Even though she knew these snakes wouldn't attack humans, Tang Nian still felt a bit uneasy and stepped back, watching them drink water in an orderly manner. Each snake drank a few sips. Although she couldn't read their expressions, she could sense they were happy, each one rubbing their heads against the little snake, probably their way of showing friendship. The entire basin of water was gone, not a drop left. Tang Nian then took out a large pile of chicken and duck eggs from her space, several hundred in total. There were too many eggs in her space, so she asked the snakes to help eat some. Eat up and help me with work tomorrow. The snakes were even happier, slithering over to eat the eggs. Their method was interesting. They first coiled around the eggs, then slowly tightened until the shells broke, and the egg liquid flowed out, allowing them to enjoy a feast. Each snake ate several eggs, leaving a pile of empty shells on the ground. The snakes crawled over to Tang Nian, their heads held high, seemingly wanting to get close to her. No need, hurry back home, and don't wander around. Tang Nian felt a chill run down her spine. She didn't want snake kisses. Under her urging, the snakes returned to their homes in an orderly fashion, looking back every few steps, reluctant to leave. This 2-legged creature was really nice, giving them delicious water and eggs.
Burp. So tasty.
But it seemed this 2-legged creature didn't like close contact. Maybe they should bring her some small gifts tomorrow. Do you want to go home? Tang Nian squatted down and asked the little snake. Tang Nian really didn't want to keep a cold-blooded animal, but she couldn't force the little snake to leave since she was the one who had attracted it in the first place. The little snake shook its head vigorously. Recently, it had been eating well in the space, and it was getting rounder. Its originally cold eyes had turned into clear, silly ones, making it look cuter and more adorable. It wasn't stupid. With good food and drink from the 2-legged creature, why would it want to go back to the mountain and suffer from hunger and the elements? The little snake pushed its round body against Tang Nian's legs and wiggled its tail. It was trying to imitate the 4-legged animals, and it could do it too. Go away. Don't touch me. Tang Nian pushed it away. A cold-blooded snake acting like a little dog was just too unsnake-like. What happened to being aloof? The little snake rolled onto the ground but stubbornly crawled back, wrapping itself around Tang Nian's feet. It wasn't letting go. It wanted to hug the 2-legged creature's leg tightly. Tang Nian found it both amusing and frustrating as she lifted it by its tail. The little snake twisted in the air, its cute little eyes showing a mix of eagerness and charm. If it could talk, it would surely say, "Master, look at me perform a twist. Aren't I great? All right, from now on, your name is Zhao Kai." Tang Nian gently tapped its head and finally gave it a name. Once it had a name, it became her family, someone she would never abandon. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Zhao Kai happily flicked its tongue, its round body twisting with excitement. It had a name now. It wasn't a lonely snake anymore. Tang Nian tossed Zhao Kai into space, climbed to the top of the cave, and lay down, pressing her ear against the ground.
Zing zing zang zang.
Sounds came from inside the cave. It was clear that Zhou Siming and his team were digging. However, the noise was faint, probably because they didn't have the right tools. At this rate, It would take at least 10 days to make any progress. How long could humans survive without food but with plenty of water? Tang Nian couldn't remember, but at least 10 days, right? After 10 days, would Zhou Siming still be alive? Tang Nian was curious. As for Wei Zhongcheng and his rescue team, they were unfocused, spending the whole day searching the mountain without much effort. Although the Zhou family was powerful, this wasn't the capital. It was a remote place where their influence didn't reach. Tang Nian splashed some water and headed down the mountain, carrying a basket filled with wild lettuce she had gathered. This wild vegetable looked a bit like dandelion and tasted pretty good when boiled and chopped, then stir-fried with tofu and diced meat. However, she didn't really like wild lettuce. She preferred other wild vegetables like shepherd's purse and melon head. She had just picked it on the hillside to bring back to Grandma Tang. Tang Nian also dug up some wild lettuce roots to store in the space. Rabbits loved this. Additionally, she collected some milk thistle, which was almost ripe in May, and a type of prickly pear that she enjoyed eating, though not many were ripe yet. Most were still green and sour, needing warmer weather to taste better. Back home, it was already dark. Grandma Tang was waiting at the gate, and when she saw her, she relaxed and scolded. "It's dark already. Your third uncle said there are many poisonous snakes on the mountain. You should go less often." "Okay." Tang Nian obediently replied, but she still had to go when necessary. "What's so good about that grass? We can't even finish the vegetables at home." Grandma Tang took the basket and, seeing it full of wild lettuce, looked disgusted.
Pigs eat this stuff.
"It's good stir-fried with meat and tofu." Tang Nian insisted that Grandma cook a bowl, and she shot her a glare before grumbling and going to cook. They shared the milk thistle and prickly pear together. Another day passed, and Zhou Siming had been missing for 2 days and nights. This couldn't be kept quiet any longer, so the team in Zhu City had to call the Zhou family in the capital to report the truth. "Siming has been missing for 2 days. Why are you only reporting it now?" Old Master Zhou was furious, nearly grinding his teeth. "We thought it was a minor issue and that we could find Comrade Zhou Siming, but 2 days have passed, and we haven't found him or his colleagues. Old Chief, we are sorry. It's our negligence. Hurry up and search. Even if we have to dig up that mountain, we must find Siming." Old Master Zhou tried to control his anger. With no news of Siren and now Siming missing, was there a curse on Zhu City against the Zhou family? He suddenly regretted sending his grandson to Zhu City. They had already lost Xiliang and Siren. Why did he foolishly send Siming to look for treasure? He had underestimated the situation. The Tang family must have placed people in Zhu City to guard that treasure, which was why Siren and Siming had gotten into trouble. Old Master Zhou's expression turned cold. He needed to personally go to Zhu City. It had been 4 days since Zhou Siming went missing. Wei Zhongcheng and his team searched the mountain daily, putting in a lot of effort. They went up at dawn and only came down after dark, each of them looking thinner and more exhausted. But they still couldn't find anyone. It was as if Zhou Siming had vanished into thin air. As for the cave, Wei Zhongcheng and his team stopped searching there because every time they approached, the poisonous snakes would appear, and there were even more than the night before. Hundreds of them. Just seeing them from a distance made their skin crawl. No one dared to take the risk. They kept their distance from that cave. The county sent more people, and the rescue team grew larger, now numbering 50 or 60. Villagers from Tang Village joined in for the sake of earning a day's wage. As long as they searched the mountain, they would earn $1, which was better than nothing. Everyone from Tang Village, young and old, went up the mountain, including Tang Jiujin, Tang Nian, and Tang Manjin. They thought it was worth the effort. If Grandma Tang didn't have to work, she would have gone up too. It's really strange. Why do those snakes only stay there? Could there be some treasure? One villager muttered quietly. He had just seen those snakes from a distance and felt his legs go weak. Having lived for over 40 years, he had never seen so many snakes and didn't understand why there were so many behind Tang Village. Where had they been hiding before? In fact, these snakes had come from other mountains because they had heard that there was a beautiful two-legged creature offering a great job with food and shelter, plus water that could make them stronger. They didn't have to do anything, just guard the cave. Such a good deal was hard for even a dumb snake to refuse, so snakes from 100 miles around came to work for Tang Nien Nien. There's no treasure. Snakes like places with a lot of energy. That cave might have zombies. I've never seen a zombie, but my dad said his cousin found a big beehive on a grave mound while chopping wood before the liberation. He brought it back to eat, but ended up covered in poisonous sores and died in agony. The old folks said it was coffin honey, contaminated with corpse poison. Whoever eats it dies. I've heard that too. Anything growing on a grave mound shouldn't be eaten. It's bad luck. The conversation drifted off topic as everyone eagerly discussed supernatural legends, some true and some just hearsay. They were aimlessly searching for people on the mountain, bored and sharing stories to pass the time. As for Zhou Siming, whose fate was unknown, the villagers didn't care. They just wanted to earn an easy dollar. It's the 5th day. The search and rescue is still ongoing. The snakes come and go on time, emerging from their holes at dawn and returning home at dusk. Before they leave, Tang Nien Nien feeds them. With the help of these snakes, the eggs and meat in the space are consumed quickly. Time to go home. After feeding, Tang Nien Nien waved her hand, signaling the snakes to return. Even though there are now several times more snakes, she remains calm. She wouldn't panic even if there were 10 times as many. No need for gifts, don't be polite. Tang Nien Nien felt a bit overwhelmed. These snakes are so polite. Every time they come, they bring her gifts, either dead birds or mice, neatly lined up in front of her. It's quite annoying. Zhao Kai, tell them not to bring gifts anymore. We're family, no need to be polite. She called Zhao Kai to translate. Zhao Kai went to the snake group, snuggled with them, and after much effort, finally conveyed the message. The snakes took back their gifts and left reluctantly. Tell them not to come anymore. It could be dangerous. Tang Nien Nien asked Zhao Kai to relay this. Zhou Siming has been missing for 5 days, and the old man Zhou in the capital must be anxious and likely to come over. This old man is ruthless and powerful. The snakes cannot compete with him. Zhao Kai dutifully passed on the message, and the snakes showed reluctant expressions but didn't linger and quickly left. Tang Nien Nien looked up at the sky. It was dark and windy, with thick clouds. The weather was favorable for rain. After 5 sunny days, a heavy downpour was expected tonight, as if heaven itself was punishing Zhou Siming. First, she would go home to eat. After filling her stomach, she would get to work. Tang Nien Nien leisurely descended the mountain, carrying half a basket of mushrooms. Without her saying a word, Grandma Tang took the initiative to make mushroom soup and stir-fried mushrooms for dinner. The wild mushrooms were tender and delicious. It's been 5 days. Those people in the capital can't be dead, right?
Su Jinfeng said.
Just eat your meal. Whether they live or die is none of our business. Grandma Tang replied, rolling her eyes. Su Jinfeng didn't dare to bring it up again. Jiujin, where's the money you earned today? Grandma Tang looked at her granddaughter. Earning 1 yuan a day meant she had to hand over 8 jiao. As for the money Tang Manjin and Su Jinfeng earned, she only took half for living expenses. The rest they could save. The second daughter-in-law and the youngest son were the same. If they didn't eat and stay at home, she wouldn't care, but if they did, they had to contribute to living expenses. Grandma here. Tang Jiujin pouted, reluctantly took out 1 yuan, and slowly handed it to Grandma Tang. Grandma Tang snatched it away and took out 2 jiao from her pocket, giving it back to her granddaughter with a stern look. Don't spend it carelessly. Okay. Tang Jiujin pouted again, but obediently agreed. After dinner, Grandma Tang went to wash the dishes. Su Jinfeng called Jiujin to the room, skillfully searched her pockets, took the 2 jiao, and exchanged it for a 5-cent coin. Mom will keep this for you. You'll be starting school in September. You'll need money. Su Jinfeng stored the money carefully and reminded her, don't spend it carelessly. Okay. Tang Jiujin's pout deepened, feeling frustrated. 1 yuan turned into 2 jiao, then into 5 cents. She couldn't even spend it freely. Her grandma and mom were stricter than a miser. She only dared to think this in her head, afraid to say it out loud for fear of being scolded. Su Jinfeng was satisfied with the money. Since she started working, she had more money, but it couldn't be spent recklessly. Lu Jin was going to school, and Zhou Jin would need supplies too. The cost for 2 school bags was not small, and girls needed new clothes. They couldn't wear tattered ones. Money had to be spent wisely. Tang Jiujin came out with a droopy head and a sulky face. Tang Nian immediately understood what happened. She had definitely been double exploited and had no money left. She grabbed the little girl by her collar and pulled her into her room, took out the 1 yuan she earned today, and handed it to Jiujin. Like a wilted eggplant, Jiujin instantly perked up as if she had been watered with spring water. She tightly held the 1 yuan, her face beaming with joy, and hugged Tang Nian's arm, playfully saying, "Second sister, you're my favorite. You just like the money." Tang Nian playfully flicked her forehead, laughing. Tang Jiujin ran off happily, eager to hide the money so grandma and mom wouldn't take it again. Night fell, and the village was quiet. Tang Nian changed into her night clothes and went up the mountain. The clouds in the sky were thick and low, making the mountain feel stifling, almost hard to breathe. A heavy rain was coming soon. Tang Nian took out a raincoat from the space, put it on, and ran to the top of the cave to listen. Zhou Siming and his group were making decent progress, digging 7 to 8 meters in 5 days. At this rate, they would be out in another 3 or 4 days. But unfortunately, they ran into her. Tang Nian took out the excavator from the space, entered the driver's seat, and waited for the thunderstorm to arrive. Inside the cave, Zhou Siming lay on the ground like a corpse, looking pale and lifeless. His eyes were dull. He was starving. After 2 days, his pride and cleanliness had crumbled. The smell of dirt was nothing compared to hunger. There was plenty of water, but no food. That small pack of biscuits was long gone, and there wasn't even a mouse in the cave. The 8 of them were so hungry they could eat dirt. "I'm so hungry. Give me something to eat." Zhou Siming lay sprawled out, mumbling to himself. He seemed to see delicious roasted meat, so fragrant. Zhou Siming couldn't help but open his mouth to bite into the roasted meat, but when he did, he realized it was just air. It was just an illusion. There was no roasted meat. The others weren't doing much better, but the 6 subordinates were slightly better off. They had received special training and could endure hunger better than ordinary people. However, after 5 days of nonstop work, their strength was severely depleted, and without food, their bodies were breaking down. All 8 of them lay on the ground, looking as if they were dead. Lu Kongri was the worst off. He had never done physical labor before, and after 5 days without food, he could only drink water while doing such heavy work. He couldn't hold on any longer. His consciousness was fading, and he didn't even have the strength to lift his hand. "He has a fever." One subordinate noticed Lu Kongri's condition and reached out to touch his forehead, which was burning hot. Things were looking grim.
Help me. Save me.
"Please." Lu Kongri knew he was in bad shape, but he didn't want to die. The Lu family hadn't made a comeback yet. He hadn't become someone important. He was unwilling. "Is there any food? I'm so hungry."
Give me something to eat.
Zhou Siming mumbled, licking his lips. Suddenly, a sweet liquid flowed into his mouth. He greedily sucked it in, as if drinking nectar. After a hearty drink, Zhou Siming felt much better, opened his eyes, and his voice was a bit louder. "Did you find food?" Zhou Siming looked joyful, not noticing Lu Kongri lying next to him, pale and breathless. "Eldest young master, don't talk. Save your strength." The subordinates didn't move, leaning against the cave wall with their eyes closed. Zhou Siming felt choked and was displeased. These people were losing respect for him.
Boom.
Thunder rumbled outside, shaking the mountain. The 6 subordinates immediately woke up and stood up, sensing something was wrong. Something was about to happen.
Boom.
Another thunderclap sounded. The cave truly shook, and stones of all sizes began to fall.
Run.
The 6 subordinates reacted quickly, stumbling over to Zhou Siming to help him escape, but Zhou Siming had no strength to get up and relied entirely on them. Everyone was exhausted, and the delay meant more stones were falling, like raindrops, quickly burying Lu Kongri.
Ah!
It hurts. Zhou Siming suddenly screamed in pain as a rock hit his head, causing blood to flow profusely before he fainted. He knocked down all 6 of his subordinates.
Boom!
The sound of thunder echoed continuously, and the cave shook as more rocks fell. The 8 subordinates were also injured, but they reacted quickly and avoided serious harm, unlike Zhou Siming. They helped Zhou Siming escape with great difficulty, dodging falling rocks that hit them, but they did not let go of him. If Zhou Siming didn't survive to return to the capital, they wouldn't either, and their families would be in trouble. Finally, the 8 of them reached a safe zone and breathed a sigh of relief. Someone wants the young master dead. The leading subordinate suddenly spoke up, having sensed something was off. The mountains in Tang village were lush, and even with heavy rain and thunder, it shouldn't have collapsed. He suspected foul play. Now he was even more certain. Someone was definitely above the cave, trying to stop them from escaping. The 8 men fell silent. They had already dug most of the way out, and with just 3 or 4 more days, they could have been free. Now it seemed hopeless. They might never get out. If they had known this mission would be so disastrous, they wouldn't have taken it.
Boom!
Another thunderclap sounded, followed by a lightning bolt as thick as an arm, splitting the sky. The excavator's massive claw ruthlessly tore through the cave, causing even more rocks to fall. The thunder stopped, but the rain intensified. Tang Niannian jumped down from the excavator, looking at the completely collapsed cave with satisfaction. That night, the thunderstorm in Tang village lasted until midnight, with lightning and thunder keeping the villagers awake. When dawn broke and the rain stopped, Wei Zhongcheng and the others had to go back up the mountain to search for people. However, an important figure arrived in Tang village today, the Public Security Bureau director and other leaders from the county, all accompanying him up the mountain. Several cars have arrived and are parked at the village entrance. Is a big official here? I saw a jeep. The villagers spoke in hushed tones, pointing at the cars from a distance. The team leader and commune officials stood together, nervously sweating. He hadn't expected Zhou Siming to have such a powerful background. Please, let this not bring trouble to Tang village. Old man Zhou got out of the jeep. He had arrived in Zhucheng the day before, meeting with some former subordinates to intimidate them, but there was still no news of Si Ren, and they had no leads on Si Ming. Usually calm in the face of danger, Old man Zhou was now anxious and a bit unsettled. Old leader, would you like to rest for a moment? A commune official respectfully asked, bowing deeply. No need. Let's go up the mountain directly. Old man Zhou's expression was stern, exuding a sense of urgency. He instructed someone to lead the way and strode toward the back mountain. Tang Niannian squeezed through the crowd, watching from a distance with a calm expression. This was Old man Zhou. It was clear he was not a good person, but there were too many people around for her to act. If something happened to him in Tang village, it would definitely bring trouble to them. For now, she decided to let him live and would deal with him later. Old man Zhou sensed something and suddenly turned around, staring directly at Tang Niannian. Tang Niannian met his gaze calmly, her expression unchanged. Old man Zhou's eyes darkened. He was sure that the disappearances of Si Ming and Si Ren were related to this girl from the Tang family. He had underestimated Tang Niannian. Captain Tang, let that girl lead us. Old man Zhou pointed at Tang Niannian, specifically asking her to guide them. Old lady Tang became anxious and was about to object. This old man from the capital didn't look like a good person and surely had bad intentions. She didn't care how high his rank was. If he bullied her granddaughter, she would scold him. Tang Niannian tugged at the old lady's sleeve, shaking her head slightly. Old man Zhou was not someone to confront directly. I still have work to do, and no time to lead. I earn 10 jobs a day, Tang Niannian said cheerfully and confidently. The nearby villagers lowered their heads, afraid the leaders would see their shock. Niannian spoke boldly, claiming to earn 10 jobs a day, even though she had never worked a single day in her life. I'll pay you to lead me. 2 yuan a day. Old man Zhou smiled slightly, his tone friendly, appearing to be an approachable leader. Okay, but you have to pay first. Tang Nianyan stepped out of the crowd and approached Old Man Zhou, extending her hand for the money. Old Man Zhou narrowed his eyes, smiling even more kindly, and nodded to a man beside him. Girl, here you go. The man next to Old Man Zhou took out 2 yuan and handed it to Tang Nianyan, though he looked displeased. He was a local official in Zhucheng and felt honored to host a leader from the capital. But this rural girl asking for money from an old leader was simply outrageous. Later, he would give the Tang village team a lesson on moral values. Their awareness was too low, clearly not having studied well. Let's go. Tang Nianyan took the money and led the way.
It was already the 6th day.
Even if Zhou Siming was still alive, he should only have half a life left. She would take Old Man Zhou around the mountain for a day before heading to that cave. The group walked toward the back mountain, accompanied by the team leader and some curious villagers. The winding mountain path was crowded, resembling a long dragon. It had been a long time since Tang village had such a scene, reminiscent of the oldest villager's funeral when the entire village went up the mountain to pay their respects. Whereas the cave filled with poisonous snakes. As soon as they reached the mountain, Old Man Zhou demanded to go to that cave, feeling strongly that Siming was inside. Those poisonous snakes must have been set up by this girl, or perhaps they were arranged by the Tang family. He had underestimated the Tang family, thinking only Tang Nianyan was left, not realizing there were powerful protectors around her. He had been careless. Tang Nianyan felt a bit disappointed. This old man was very sharp and hard to deceive. She led the group to the cave, but stopped at a distance, pointing and timidly saying, "It's over there. There are snakes, and I'm too scared to go closer. How about I return you a yuan?" The man had given her 2 1-yuan bills, and Tang Nianyan pulled one out to return to Old Man Zhou. No need to return it. How do you know there are snakes there? Old Man Zhou's gaze deepened, fixated on Tang Nianyan. Everyone in the village knows. It's not a secret. Tang Nianyan replied, and the team leader added, "That's right, the whole village knows." Strangely, those snakes seem to have disappeared these past few days. Has this ever happened in Tang village before? Old Man Zhou's expression was meaningful, his words layered. The team leader hesitated and shook his head. In my lifetime, I've never seen it. I don't know if it happened before. Uncle San, have you heard of it? The team leader called over a man in his 60s, also named Tang. I haven't seen it, but I heard my grandfather say there are dragons in the mountains with horns on their heads. One time, when my grandfather was cutting firewood, it suddenly thundered, just like the thunder from last night. It scared him so much he peed his pants at 14, before he even had a wife. Uncle San was a chatterbox, rambling on without getting to the point. Old Man Zhou frowned slightly, growing impatient. The team leader quickly interrupted Uncle San. What happened to that dragon? It transformed, becoming a dragon. Maybe those snakes are its descendants. Oh no, I misspoke. I was just dreaming. Uncle San blurted out, suddenly remembering that such transformations were not possible after the founding of the country. His face turned pale, and he quickly backtracked, attributing it to a dream before finding an excuse to leave the mountain, not daring to stay any longer. Old Master Zhou's face was dark, and he remained silent. The air on the mountain became very quiet, with only a gentle breeze blowing. The captain was sweating profusely, unable to stand straight, feeling anxious. The leaders from the capital were hard to deal with. The commune leaders were much easier to get along with. "Leader, my uncle tells jokes, haha. He loves to tell jokes." The captain forced a laugh to lighten the mood, but old Master Zhou gave him a deep look that made him feel uneasy, as if his heart was being pulled out. "Captain Tang, no matter what method you use, you must dig here today." Old Master Zhou pointed at the collapsed cave, his tone chilling, and no one dared to oppose him. "All right, I'll go call for help right away." The captain replied without thinking, but then remembered something very important, something more important than his life, and bravely asked, "Leader, how will we calculate the work points for digging the cave?" Working for free was definitely not an option. He could agree, but the villagers wouldn't. Just go call for people and stop asking so many questions. The official who had given money to Tang Nian frowned and scolded him sharply. The man thought the atmosphere in Tang village was terrible. He had initially thought it was just that pretty girl being shrewd, but now it seemed like the whole village was corrupt, with this captain being someone who only cared about money. It was surprising he could lead the team well. Leader, we need to clarify the work before starting. Otherwise, it will be a mess. I've been the captain for 17 years, and Tang Village has been recognized as an advanced production team for 3 years in a row. I've even been a model worker. The captain was also unhappy. He couldn't just make promises without any commitment. He couldn't run around for this. Whether it was the leaders from the capital or the county, if they wanted to take advantage of the villagers, they were not good leaders, and he had to fight for benefits for his people. After all, his family had been poor farmers for 8 generations, so he wasn't afraid of being investigated. The faces of the county leaders turned ugly, feeling that the captain had embarrassed Zhu Cheng. But in front of old Master Zhou, they couldn't say anything, only glaring at the captain. The commune officials were silent, shrinking away, wishing no one would notice them. With county leaders present, they felt it wasn't their place to speak. Moreover, they thought the captain was right. Asking people to work without discussing work points was like dating without the intention of marriage, just nonsense. Although the captain's legs were weak and he felt scared, he gritted his teeth and stood tall. He hadn't done anything wrong, so why should he be afraid? As long as the villagers come to work, I'll pay them 2 yuan a day out of my own pocket. Captain Tang, could you please hurry and find people? My grandson is still inside, and I don't know what's happening. Please understand my feelings. Old Master Zhou spoke, his voice hoarse and his expression pained, looking much older. Seeing him like this, the captain immediately felt guilty, thinking he had been too calculating. The old man's grandson was missing, and he was still worrying about work points. How inappropriate. I'll go call for help right now. The captain rushed down the mountain, but after a few steps, he stopped and turned back to advise, Leader, I don't think your grandson is in this cave. There are so many poisonous snakes. It's likely that no one is inside. Why not dig somewhere else? He truly believed that the cave was strange and didn't seem like it had anyone inside. The captain was just worried about old Master Zhou wasting a lot of money and doing free work, delaying the search for his grandson. He had good intentions. Just do what I tell you and stop talking so much. The county leader scolded loudly, thinking the captain was not only greedy, but also lacked insight. Didn't he see how grim old Master Zhou's face was? Still chattering away, he was really asking for a scolding. The captain was also angry from being scolded and turned to leave the mountain. After all, it wasn't his grandson. Why should he care about so many things? Earning 2 yuan a day was a good deal. He would get the villagers to dig. If they could earn it, why not? Humph. About 10 minutes later, the loudspeaker at the village entrance blared. Attention! Urgent notice. Everyone who can move, except those who are bedridden or nursing, go to the mountain to work for 2 yuan a day. The captain repeated it 3 times, and the villagers were excited. 2 yuan a day was like money falling from the sky. Those working in the fields, those at the sock factory, and the old men and women chatting at the village entrance all rushed home to grab tools and headed up the mountain. Even an elderly woman who had been bedridden for years suddenly sat up, full of energy, and went up the mountain. This 2 yuan was more effective than any medicine. Outside the cave, in no time, the area was filled with villagers of all ages. Over 200 people crowded together, pushing old Master Zhou and the others aside. Captain Tang, only let the young and strong stay. Send the old and children home. Old Master Zhou's face was dark, and his gaze towards the captain was unfriendly. A bunch of country bumpkins wanted to take advantage of him. How outrageous. The captain smiled awkwardly, but his expression changed as he turned away, secretly cursing old Master Zhou for not keeping his word. After all, he was a big official from the capital, so uncouth. He sent the old and children home, and the number of people on the mountain was cut in half. They began working energetically. This is really strange. How did the mountain collapse? It was struck by lightning. The thunder last night was so loud. No wonder those snakes suddenly disappeared. They must have been scared away. This is really odd. Did we anger the gods? Don't say that. The leaders are standing behind us. We don't want to get sent for labor reform. The villagers worked while whispering in their dialect, speaking quickly and urgently, making it hard for outsiders to understand. They weren't too worried about being overheard. Tang Nian expression was indifferent. It had been over 10 hours since the collapse, and no matter how lucky Zhou Siming was, he couldn't escape such a serious incident. Even if he hadn't died, she would find a way to ensure he did. For now, she couldn't act against old Master Zhou, but she had no qualms about Zhou Siming. Tang Nian yawned widely, her eyes misty, and lazily turned to head home to sleep. Where are you going? Did I tell you to leave? The man who had given her money spoke harshly, pointing at Tang Nian. Let me lead. I brought you here, so what's the problem? Tang Nian's expression was cold. This man had angered her for the second time. He clearly was a bully. The leaders are still up the mountain. Why are you going down? Stand here. The man's tone became even harsher, feeling that Tang Nian was clueless, just like the captain. It seemed the whole village was corrupt. I'm not feeling well. I get dizzy if I stand too long. Tang Nian swayed slightly, suddenly leaning against the captain, eyes closed, her face pale, cold sweat pouring down, looking like she might faint at any moment. What's wrong, Nian girl? Jian Shu, hurry, and take her to the clinic. The captain was startled, thinking that Tang Nian had really fainted, so he quickly had his younger son carry her to the clinic for help. Not far away, Grandma Tang glanced over, but continued to work calmly. This girl has always been good at acting. Every winter, she would fall ill every few days, with no real symptoms, just lacking energy, feeling dizzy, and having stomach aches. At first, she and her husband thought she was genuinely unwell, so they took her to the clinic, but the doctor said there was nothing wrong. Even after taking medicine, she remained the same. Her appetite was poor. Fearing that she would suffer at school, they let her take leave to rest at home, so she hardly attended school during winter. At that time, she joked with her husband that this girl should not be born in the year of the pig but in the year of the snake, as she hibernated every winter. They never suspected anything else and thought Nian was truly unwell. 3 winters passed like this, until one night, Grandma Tang heard rustling sounds in the kitchen. Thinking a mouse had entered, she quickly got up, only to see Tang Nian, who was supposed to be weak, in bed, rummaging through the cupboard eating leftovers. She was devouring the food with great energy. Grandma Tang quickly understood and was furious, giving her a good scolding. Grandpa Tang even pleaded for her, saying the classroom was very cold, and if she didn't want to go to school, she didn't have to since Nian's grades were good and she wasn't falling behind. This girl has always been a drama queen, pretending to be sick even better than real patients. Grandma Tang had been outsmarting her granddaughter for 17 years and had long seen through Tang Nian's true nature. Tang Jian Shu carried Tang Nian down the mountain, but as soon as they were out of the old man Zhou's sight, he stopped and put her down with annoyance. Nian, are you a pig? You're getting heavier. He grew up with Tang Nian and could tell what she was up to just by her expressions. I'm a pig by birth. I'm not heavy, you just have weak arms and legs. If you marry in the future, you won't be able to carry your wife. Tang Nian rolled her eyes, found a tree, and climbed up. From there, she could see the group of people on the hillside and quickly spotted that annoying county official. He had scolded her twice. She was keeping score. Tang Nian took out a slingshot she borrowed from Jiojin, picked up 2 small stones from the ground, and aimed for the man's knee. The 2 stones flew out, hitting his knee almost simultaneously.
Ow!
The man cried out and knelt down. He was standing on a large rock about 1 meter high, and when he knelt, he fell hard, injuring his head and knocking out his front teeth. Old man Zhou reacted quickly, glancing sharply in Tang Nian's direction, his cloudy eyes suddenly sharp. You have a lot of nerve. That's a county official. Hurry home. Tang Jianshu was startled. He couldn't understand his cousin. Although she was bold as a child, she had never been this reckless. Now, she was not only stronger but also bolder, as if there was no one in the world she feared. Tang Nian put away her slingshot and obediently climbed down the mountain. Tang Jianshu watched her go home, reminding her not to cause any more trouble before heading back up the mountain. "How's Nian girl?" the captain asked with concern. She felt better after eating a piece of candy on the way. Nian said it's an old issue and not serious. She went home to lie down. Tang Jianshu made up a story about low blood sugar, and the captain believed him, muttering to himself, "What kind of problem is that? She should see a doctor." Old Man Zhou looked at him with a mocking gaze and asked, "Captain Tang, what was that girl's name?" "Tang Nian, she's my niece." The captain quickly replied, becoming very alert. He felt that the old leader from the capital seemed approachable, but was actually quite intimidating, like a smiling tiger. "Your niece doesn't look like a rural girl," Old Man Zhou remarked, his eyes full of meaning. Tang Nian resembled her grandmother, the once famous socialite Zhao Fenghua, who was a stunning beauty in her youth. Many wealthy young men in Shanghai spent lavishly just to see her smile. But this beauty eventually married into the Tang family, becoming the wife of the family head. They were affectionate for a few years, but eventually separated. Zhao Fenghua divorced the Tang family head shortly after having a child, leaving the child behind and taking some money to live abroad, where she reportedly thrived. The Tang family head, however, never forgot her and later married someone who resembled Zhao Fenghua. Old Man Zhou envisioned the image of an unparalleled beauty in a light purple qipao, graceful and charming. Even though she had given birth and was no longer young, she could still captivate men. Tang Nian bore a strong resemblance to her grandmother, but their temperaments were completely different. Zhao Fenghua was full of charm, while Tang Nian was strikingly beautiful yet cool and distant, unlike her grandmother, who was adaptable and sociable. Leader, Nian girl has always been pretty and smart. She even works as a regular employee in a big city unit. The captain praised her without knowing her background. Old Man Zhou glanced at him, not sensing anything unusual. It seemed Tang Nian's background was well hidden in the village. He didn't ask further. The most important thing now was to save his grandson. With many hands working together, progress was quick, but they worked until dark. The captain brought dozens of torches, lighting up the mountain brightly. "Be careful." Just as he spoke, several stones fell. The deeper they dug, the more rocks fell, causing the villagers to slow down. Old Man Zhou had already sent someone to check the situation at the cave's top. He suspected it had collapsed due to an explosion, but his subordinates reported no signs of explosives, suggesting it must have collapsed from immense force. What kind of force could collapse such a large cave? Old Man Zhou muttered to himself, struggling to imagine anything like a bulldozer in the 1970s. Perhaps it was dozens of people using hammers and chisels, one subordinate suggested. He couldn't think of any other method. Old Man Zhou shook his head, a deep frown of confusion on his tired face. If dozens of people suddenly appeared on the mountain, the Tang village would have noticed. Maybe it was the villagers? The subordinate proposed. "Impossible. They aren't that clever." Old Man Zhou dismissed the idea. He had tested the captain earlier and found him not very bright, and the other villagers seemed foolish. If they had really done something this significant, they wouldn't be acting as if nothing had happened. The ones responsible for the cave-in must be a different group. Those people were likely the ones left behind by the Tang family to guard the treasure. But where did they usually stay? And how did they contact Tang Nian? Old Man Zhou furrowed his brow. Even with his cunning and experience, he couldn't figure out where those people were hiding, nor could he imagine that Tang Nian alone could cause the cave to collapse. As night deepened, the villagers slowed down their work. Half of them went home to rest, while the others stayed for the promised overtime pay of 2 yuan from Old Man Zhou. The captain forced himself to stay awake, yawning repeatedly, his eyelids nearly sticking together. "We're through. We've broken through." The captain was startled awake by the excited shouts, shaking off his sleepiness completely. The cave was finally dug through, and the tired villagers were extremely happy. Although they were exhausted, they had earned $4. Old Man Zhou was also pushing himself. He had traveled to Zhucheng without resting and rushed to Tang village, spending a whole day on the mountain, severely draining his energy. As soon as he heard the cave was open, he immediately perked up and walked quickly toward it. "Leader, please wait. We need to send someone in first." Old Man Zhou was stopped by his subordinates. They didn't know what was happening inside the cave. A few subordinates entered the cave and walked about 50 meters before they saw a pile of stones, with hands and feet sticking out, and a strong smell of blood in the air. Their hearts sank. It looked like Zhou Siming was in serious trouble. "Is Siming inside?" As soon as they came out, Old Man Zhou asked anxiously. "Yes, but the situation is not good." After hesitating, the subordinate told the truth. Old Man Zhou swayed slightly but steadied himself and walked into the cave. When he saw the person buried under the stones, his vision went dark, and he was luckily supported by someone. "Quick, dig him out." Old Man Zhou's voice trembled. At that moment, he just hoped his grandson was still alive. Without needing to give orders, others began to work. Half an hour later, all 10 people were uncovered. They lay in disarray, some on their backs, others face down. Old Man Zhou pulled the nearest person over and turned him to see it was Lu Kongri, who was already lifeless. Lu Kongri's expression was one of fear, with complex emotions: regret, fear, hatred. His body was cold, clearly dead for a while. "Young master is here." One subordinate found Zhou Siming, but when he checked for a pulse, his expression changed. Old Man Zhou's heart sank. He didn't ask further but walked over, feeling Zhou Siming's neck. There was no pulse, and his body was cold. "Siming!" Old Man Zhou cried out in sorrow, tears streaming down his face. Although he valued Zhou Siming the most, Zhou Siming was also his beloved grandson. Just 10 days ago, his grandson was full of life, but now he lay there, a cold corpse, covered in injuries and blood. His grandson, who loved cleanliness, was now in such a terrible state. Old Man Zhou held his grandson's body, silently crying, while the nearby subordinates dared not speak. At that moment, no one cared about the fate of the other 8 people. "Find out who harmed Siming. We must investigate this cave collapse." Old Man Zhou didn't mourn for long. He ordered sternly that the cave collapse incident must be thoroughly investigated. The team leader lowered his head, frowning. It was clearly a collapse caused by lightning. What was there to investigate? If he had to say, this Zhou young master was just asking for trouble. Why leave the good city and run up a mountain? Going up during a thunderstorm was just looking for death. With the villagers' help, all 10 bodies were carried down the mountain and neatly placed in the morgue of Tang village. The night was deep, and everyone was exhausted. There weren't enough empty rooms in the village, so Old Man Zhou and the others could only return to the commune to stay. The next day, the people of Tang village woke up late. They were all tired from the previous day, and with so many deaths, everyone was very anxious. Tang Nian was woken up by her grandmother's loud voice, sitting up in bed to hear her grandmother gossiping excitedly. Did they really die in a cave? How could this happen? What a tragedy. Tang's grandmother chanted a few Amitabha prayers, feeling it was bad luck. 10 people dying in the mountains had ruined the village's good fortune. They were crushed by stones. My husband saw it last night while working late. It was terrible. Their heads were smashed flat. What were these people doing in the cave? Were they possessed by ghosts? Sure, keep it down. This could really be true. That cave is definitely cursed. Otherwise, why do those snakes only crawl into it? Why does lightning only strike there? This is just like the saying, if the king of hell wants you dead at 3, you can't escape at 5. Their time was up. The old man from the capital said he would investigate thoroughly. What more can he do? Catch ghosts? A few women gathered in the Tang family's yard, gossiping while eating sunflower seeds, all excited. This has nothing to do with us. When will we get paid for yesterday's work? Tang's grandmother was most concerned about the wages. She couldn't work for free. Her whole family worked yesterday. Her, the eldest son, and 2 daughters-in-law, totaling $8. Right, we haven't been paid yet. I'll go ask the team leader. I'll go too. My husband worked late last night. He was promised $2. The women stopped eating seeds and hurried off to find the team leader. The team leader's door was crowded with villagers, all there to ask about their wages. They were worried Old Man Joe would return to the capital and they would lose their money. What's the rush? Do you think the leaders in the capital will cheat you out of your wages? Have some understanding for the old leader. His grandson just had an accident, and he's surely very sad. Wait a couple of days before asking. The team leader spoke kindly to calm the villagers. Then we'll wait a couple more days. Team leader, please take this seriously. This is our hard-earned money. The villagers reluctantly agreed. The team leader promised, even without the villagers reminding him, he would definitely pay attention. Around lunchtime, Old Man Joe arrived in Tang Village, looking even older. He was accompanied by Wei Zhongcheng and others, sent to investigate the case. Old Man Joe was convinced someone had deliberately harmed his grandson, so the police had to come and investigate. The bodies of Zhou Siming and the others were carried one by one onto a vehicle for cremation. Siming, Grandpa will definitely avenge you. Old Man Joe's expression was icy, his cloudy eyes shining with intensity. The first target would be Tang Yin.